The billionaire stood frozen in the blizzard, staring at two abandoned children who were minutes from death, and the desperate stranger who refused to let them die alone. What happened next would destroy everything he thought he knew about family, sacrifice, and the price of second chances. Welcome to tonight's story. If you stay until the end, you'll discover how one impossibly cold December night shattered two broken lives and forged them into something neither could have survived alone. Drop a comment with your city below so I can see how far this story travels. Hit that like button. Now let's begin. The wind off Lake Michigan didn't just blow through Chicago that December night. It attacked. It ripped through the financial district like it had a personal grudge against every steel tower, every illuminated window where someone was still working at 9:47 on a Wednesday evening. Adrian Cole felt each gust knife through his cashmere overcoat as he walked, head down, hands buried deep in his pockets. 32 years old, billionaire, CEO of a tech empire that had gone public 3 years ago and made him wealthier than his grandfather could have imagined. And walking home, alone, again. His driver had offered. Marcus always offered. But Adrian had waved him off at the office tower entrance, some stupid part of him thinking the cold might feel like something real, might cut through the numbness that had settled into his bones since the divorce papers were finalized 8 months ago. The penthouse was 18 blocks north, normally a 20-minute walk. Tonight, in this storm, it would take 30, maybe 40. Adrian didn't care. The longer he stayed out here, the less time he'd spend staring at the empty rooms of his apartment, listening to silence so complete it pressed against his eardrums like physical weight. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Probably Jenkins from legal, wanting to discuss the merger terms one more time. Or his ex-wife's attorney, CCing him on another modification to their custody arrangement. Sophia, his 7-year-old daughter, lived in San Francisco now, with her mother's new husband, in a house that probably felt more like home than Adrian's penthouse ever had. He saw her twice a month if he was lucky. Video calls on Wednesdays that felt more like business meetings than conversations with his own child. She'd started calling him Adrian instead of Daddy last month. He'd pretended not to notice. The snow came down harder, not the pretty, gentle kind from Christmas movies. This was Chicago winter at its meanest. Wet, heavy flakes that soaked through everything and froze solid the moment they touched concrete. Adrian's Italian leather shoes were already ruined. He kept walking. The shortcut through Millennium Park would save him 10 minutes. The paths would be deserted this time of night, this deep into a storm warning. Everyone else had the sense to be indoors. Underground. Anywhere but out here. Adrian entered the park through the north gate. The streetlights barely penetrated the swirling white chaos. Snow had already buried the paths under 4 inches, maybe 5. His footsteps crunched loud in the strange, muffled silence that came with heavy snowfall. He was halfway through when he saw them. At first, his brain refused to process what his eyes were reporting. A shape near one of the benches. No, multiple shapes. Moving. No. One moving, others still. Adrian stopped walking. 40 feet ahead, barely visible through the curtain of snow, a woman stood beside a park bench. She wasn't dressed for this weather. Thin jacket, no hat, jeans already soaked black. She was bent over something, someone, moving with the jerky, desperate motions of panic. Adrian's first instinct was to keep walking. Chicago was full of situations that weren't his business, problems that didn't belong to him. He'd learned that lesson early, built walls high enough that other people's emergencies couldn't reach him. But then he heard it. A child's voice, high, terrified. "Please don't leave us. Please don't go." Something in Adrian's chest cracked. He started moving before his brain caught up, snow crunching faster under his feet. As he got closer, the scene assembled itself piece by horrible piece. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, standing beside the bench in a jacket 3 sizes too big, no gloves, snow caked in his dark hair. His arms were wrapped around something, holding it against his chest with the desperate strength of someone who'd been told not to let go no matter what. A bundle of blankets. Thin blankets. Moving weakly. A baby. The woman, she couldn't have been more than 30, whipped around at the sound of Adrian's approach. Her face was raw red from cold. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in dark tracks. Her eyes were wild, afraid. "Stay back," she said. Her voice shook. From cold, or fear, or both? Adrian raised his hands, the gesture automatic. I'm just. He couldn't finish the sentence. His eyes had found the baby in the boy's arms. The blankets weren't moving much anymore. Oh, Jesus, Adrian breathed. How long have they been out here? The woman's face crumpled. I found them an hour ago, maybe longer. I don't know. I was walking home from work and I heard crying and she gestured helplessly at the children. She left them here. The mother. He said she told him to wait on this bench and she'd come back, but she's not coming back, Adrian finished. The boy made a sound. Not quite a sob. Something worse. The kind of noise children make when they're too scared to cry anymore. Adrian moved closer. The woman tensed but didn't stop him. Up close, the situation was somehow even worse than he'd thought. The little boy's lips were blue. His whole body trembled with shivers so violent Adrian could see them from 3 feet away. The baby, a girl, Adrian realized, seeing a tiny purple hat barely visible in the blankets, wasn't moving at all now. We have to get them inside, Adrian said. His voice came out harder than he meant. Right now. I know that. The woman's words snapped with frustration. You think I don't know that? I tried calling 911 20 minutes ago, but the storm has everything backed up and they said it could be 45 minutes before anyone... Her voice broke. She's so cold. I can't... She's barely breathing and I don't know what to do. Adrian was already pulling out his phone. His fingers were numb, clumsy. He pulled up Marcus's contact. Hit call. The woman was staring at him. Who are you calling? Someone who can get us out of here in under 3 minutes. The line connected. Marcus, I'm in Millennium Park, North Side. I need you here now. Emergency. Children involved. To Marcus's credit, he didn't ask questions. 2 minutes, sir. I'm 4 blocks away. Adrian ended the call. Looked at the boy. The boy stared back with eyes that had seen too much, trusted too little. What's your name? The boy's mouth moved. Nothing came out at first, then, barely audible. Noah. Noah. Okay. I'm Adrian. He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level despite the snow soaking immediately through his pants. I'm going to help you and your sister, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Noah's eyes flickered to the woman. Back to Adrian. You're not going to take her away from me? The question punched Adrian in the gut. No, I promise. You and your sister stay together. Something in Noah's face shifted. Not quite trust, but maybe the beginning of not being so afraid. The woman spoke up. He wouldn't let the paramedics near her when they showed up earlier, before they had to leave for another call. He started screaming, and they couldn't... She swallowed hard. He's terrified someone's going to take her. Adrian understood, more than he wanted to. He'd felt that same terror 8 months ago in a courtroom, watching his daughter be legally reassigned to someone else's custody, watching his family be dissolved by legal documents and judicial decisions. What's the baby's name? Adrian asked. Lily, Noah whispered. She's 6 months old. Too young. Way too young to survive exposure like this. Adrian's mind raced through logistics. His penthouse was 12 blocks away. It had heat, security, privacy, everything they needed. But convincing this woman and this traumatized boy to get into a stranger's car in the middle of a snowstorm, headlights cut through the snow. Marcus's black SUV pulled up to the park entrance 20 feet away, emergency lights flashing. The woman backed up a step. Wait, Who is that? My driver. Adrian stood, brushing snow off his knees. We need to get these children somewhere warm right now or the baby's not going to make it. You know that. She stared at him. He could see her mind working, weighing risks, calculating odds. She was terrified. Not of the cold, of him, of getting into a vehicle with a strange man she'd met in a snowstorm. Adrian understood that too. The world had taught women to be afraid of men who appeared out of nowhere offering help. My name is Adrian Cole, he said, keeping his voice level. If you have a phone, look me up right now. I'm CEO of Techstone Industries. My face is probably on the first 10 search results. I have a daughter. I would never hurt children. The woman's hand shook as she pulled out a phone. Wet, nearly dead battery, but functional. She typed something. Her eyes flickered between the screen and Adrian's face. You're actually... She stopped. Started again. You're actually Adrian Cole. Right now, I'm just someone with a warm apartment and access to medical care. Please. He looked at Noah, at the tiny bundle in Noah's arms that had stopped moving entirely. Please let me help them. The woman looked at the children, back at Adrian, her jaw set with the kind of decision that probably terrified her. Okay? Adrian moved fast. He stripped off his overcoat, custom-tailored wool cashmere blend, worth more than most people made in a month, and wrapped it around Noah and the baby together. Noah made a small sound of surprise at the warmth. Can you walk? Adrian asked him. Noah nodded, but when he tried to take a step, his legs nearly gave out. He'd been standing still too long, hypothermia setting in. Adrian didn't hesitate. He scooped both children up in one motion, coat and all. Noah was lighter than he should have been. The baby was barely anything. Come on, Adrian told the woman. Now! They ran. Well, Adrian ran. The woman stumbled after him through the snow, shoes clearly wrong for this weather, exhaustion written in every movement. Marcus met them halfway with an umbrella and a thermal blanket. Hospital? Marcus asked, already moving toward the driver's door. My place. Call Dr. Hammond. Tell him emergency house call, pediatric hypothermia, possible neglect case. I need him there in 15 minutes. Adrian was already climbing into the back seat, Noah and Lily still in his arms. The woman scrambled in after him. Marcus didn't argue. The engine was running, heat blasting. He pulled away from the curb before Adrian had even closed the door. Inside the SUV, under the interior lights, everything looked worse. Noah's face was waxy pale. The baby, Adrian carefully pulled back the blankets to check. The baby's lips were gray. Her tiny chest barely rose and fell. Is she... The woman's voice cracked. Is she breathing? Barely. Adrian's own hands were shaking now, not from cold, from something else. He looked at the woman. What's your name? Claire. Claire Bennett. Claire, I'm going to need your help. When we get to my apartment, there's going to be doctors and probably police and a lot of questions. Noah here... He looked at the boy. Noah is going to be scared. I need you to stay with him. Can you do that? Claire nodded. Her eyes were locked on Lily. I'm not leaving them. I don't care what anyone says. I found them. I'm not leaving them alone. Something in her voice told Adrian this wasn't just about tonight. This was about something deeper, older. But there wasn't time to unpack that now. Good, Adrian said, because I don't think Noah will let anyone near his sister except you and me. It was true. Noah had relaxed slightly in Adrian's arms, but his grip on Lily hadn't loosened. His eyes tracked every movement, every sound, watching, waiting for the next bad thing. The SUV carved through empty streets. The snow was coming down so hard now, the wipers could barely keep up. Marcus drove with the calm precision of someone who'd done executive protection work before becoming a driver. Smooth, fast, no wasted motion. Adrian's phone buzzed again. He pulled it out one-handed. Jenkins. He silenced it. Then he pulled up another contact. Reynolds. Head of security at his building. Reynolds, I'm arriving in 10 minutes with 2 children and a guest. Medical emergency. I need you to have the private elevator ready and the lobby completely clear. No one sees us come in. Understood? Yes, sir. Should I notify building management? No, just the elevator and the lobby. And call up when Dr. Hammond arrives. Understood, sir. Adrian ended the call, looked at Claire. She was still staring at Lily, her lips moving silently, praying maybe, or just counting breaths, making sure the baby was still alive. How did you end up in the park tonight? Adrian asked, partly to distract her, partly because he needed to know what he was walking into. Claire's eyes flickered to him. Back to Lily. I worked at a diner on State Street, evening shift. I usually cut through the park on my way home because it saves me a bus transfer. She swallowed. I almost didn't tonight, because of the storm. But the buses were running late and I was tired and I just wanted to get home. You live nearby? Uptown, small apartment, 1 bedroom. The way she said it suggested 1 bedroom was generous. A studio, probably. Maybe not even that. You live alone? Claire's jaw tightened. That's not really your business. Adrian held up a hand. You're right, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand the situation. The situation, Claire said, her voice harder now. is that someone left these children in a park to die, and I couldn't just walk away. That's the situation. In Adrian's arms, Noah stirred. His eyes opened, locked on Claire. You didn't leave us. Claire's whole face transformed. The hardness melted into something tender, broken. She reached out and touched Noah's snow-wet hair. No, sweetie, I didn't leave you. I won't leave you. Mama left us. Noah's voice was so small. She said she'd come back, but she didn't. She never came back. Adrian felt something crack wider in his chest. The same crack that had started when he first heard Noah's voice in the park. He'd spent 8 months building walls, learning how to not feel things, how to turn emotion into strategy and vulnerability into profit margins. Those walls were crumbling fast. Where did your mama go? Claire asked gently. Noah shook his head. I don't know. She was crying. She said she was sorry. She gave me Lily and told me to wait on the bench and she'd come right back. His breath hitched. But it got dark and cold, and she didn't come back. Claire looked at Adrian. Her eyes were wet. What kind of person? Someone with a problem bigger than their ability to solve it, Adrian said quietly. He'd seen it before. Not personally, but in the news. In the statistics his company's charitable foundation analyzed. Addiction, mental illness, poverty, desperation. Any of them could break a person down until they did the unthinkable. The SUV pulled up to Adrian's building. 52 stories of steel and glass. Luxury apartments starting at $4 million. The lobby was empty as promised, Reynolds standing by the private elevator. Marcus, help Claire. Reynolds, take this. Adrian handed off his phone. Dr. Hammond should be calling any minute. Send him straight up. They moved through the lobby like a tactical operation. Reynolds cleared the path. Marcus supported Claire, who was limping now, her feet probably frostbitten in those inadequate shoes. Adrian carried Noah and Lily, moving as smoothly as possible, trying not to jostle the baby who still hadn't made a sound. The elevator ride to the penthouse took 45 seconds. Longest 45 seconds of Adrian's life. He watched Lily's tiny face, looking for any change, any sign of improvement or decline. Nothing. Just that shallow breathing. Too slow, too weak. The elevator opened directly into his apartment. 4,000 square feet of minimalist luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. Hardwood floors. Modern furniture that cost more than cars. Art on the walls from galleries in New York and London. It had never felt emptier than it did right now. Through here. Adrian led them to the master bedroom. King-sized bed, premium linens. He laid Noah and Lily down carefully, started unwrapping the blankets. Claire, can you help me get these wet clothes off them? We need to warm them slowly, not too fast or it can cause cardiac problems. Claire was already moving. Her hands were steadier than his. She helped Noah out of his oversized jacket and soaked shirt. The boy was skin and bones underneath. When had he last eaten a real meal? Adrian focused on Lily. The baby was dressed in a onesie that might have been white once but was gray now, with dirt and wear. As he carefully removed it, he felt his stomach turn. Diaper rash. Bad. Untreated. And she was underweight, severely underweight. Christ, he breathed. What? Claire leaned over, saw. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, how long has she been neglected? I don't know. Adrian grabbed his phone from Reynolds, who had followed them into the room. But we're going to need a police report and Child Protective Services. Claire's face went white. They'll split them up. What? CPS, if they take them. They'll put them in different foster homes. Noah's old enough to be placed with a family but a baby with medical needs. She looked at him with desperate eyes. They'll split them up, Noah heard. His whole body went rigid. No, no! No one takes Lily. No one. Noah, Adrian started. No! The boy's scream was primal. He grabbed Lily from Adrian's hands, pulling her against his chest. The baby let out a weak cry at the sudden movement. You can't have her. I promised Mama I'd take care of her. I promised. Adrian froze. He'd seen this before. Not with children. With Sophia. When the custody arrangement was being decided. The way she'd clutched her stuffed rabbit. The one Adrian had given her when she was 3. How she'd screamed when someone tried to take it away. How she'd looked at him like he was supposed to fix it. supposed to make the bad things stop happening. He hadn't been able to fix it then, but maybe he could fix it now. Okay, Adrian said, keeping his voice calm. Okay, Noah. No one's taking Lily, I promise. You can't promise that. Claire's voice was bitter. You don't know how the system works. Adrian looked at her. No, but I know how money works, and influence, and lawyers who bill $1,000 an hour and win cases that should be unwinnable. He turned back to Noah. I promise you. Whatever I have to do, you and your sister stay together. Do you believe me? Noah stared at him. This little boy who'd been abandoned in a snowstorm, who'd stood in freezing temperatures protecting his baby sister, who had every reason to trust no one ever again. Why? Noah whispered. Why would you help us? Adrian didn't have a good answer. Not one that made logical sense, not one that fit with the careful, controlled life he'd built. But he had the truth. Because someone should have helped me, Adrian said quietly, when I needed it, and no one did. The door buzzer sounded. Reynolds spoke through the intercom. Dr. Hammond is here, sir. Send him in. Dr. Hammond was 60 years old, had been Adrian's personal physician for 5 years, and had probably seen everything. But even he looked shocked when he entered the bedroom and saw the scene. What in the hell? Hypothermia. Both children. Possible neglect and malnutrition. The baby's in worse shape. Adrian's voice had shifted into the clipped, efficient tone he used in board meetings. Emotion locked down. Problem-solving mode engaged. How fast can you stabilize them? Dr. Hammond was already moving, setting down his medical bag, pulling out equipment. Depends on how bad it is. I'll need to check core temperatures, assess for frostbite. He stopped when Noah flinched away from him. Son, I need to examine you. No, Noah's voice was flat. You'll take Lily. I'm just going to... No. Dr. Hammond looked at Adrian helplessly. Claire stepped forward. Noah. Her voice was soft. Honey, look at me. She waited until the boy's frightened eyes met hers. Dr. Hammond is a good man. He just wants to help Lily feel better. You want Lily to feel better, right? A tiny nod. Then you need to let him check her. I'll be right here. Adrian will be right here. No one's going anywhere without you knowing about it. Noah's grip on his sister loosened fractionally. You promise? I promise. It was enough. Dr. Hammond worked quickly, efficiently, taking temperatures with a non-contact thermometer, checking pulses and breathing rates, examining tiny fingers and toes for frostbite. His expression grew grimmer with each passing minute. Finally, he stood up, gestured for Adrian to step into the hallway. Adrian looked at Claire. Stay with them. She nodded. In the hallway, with the bedroom door half closed, Dr. Hammond pulled off his gloves. The boy will be fine. Mild hypothermia, some minor frostbite on his toes, but nothing permanent. Feed him something warm, get him into dry clothes, let him rest. He'll recover. And the baby? Dr. Hammond's jaw tightened. The baby is in trouble. Core temperature is 89 degrees. That's severe hypothermia. She's also severely malnourished and dehydrated. I can stabilize her here, but she needs a hospital. Pediatric ICU tonight. Adrian's stomach dropped. How bad? If she'd been out there another hour? Dr. Hammond met his eyes. She'd be dead. The words hung in the air. Adrian felt them settle into his bones like the cold from earlier. Lily had been an hour away from death when he'd walked through that park. 1 hour. 60 minutes. If he'd taken a different route, if he'd stayed at the office longer, if he'd called Marcus for a ride instead of walking. Call an ambulance, Adrian said. Already did. From the car on my way here, they're 10 minutes out. Dr. Hammond paused. Adrian, I have to report this. The condition these children are in, it's criminal neglect. Maybe attempted murder, depending on how the DA wants to charge it. I know. When CPS gets involved, I know, Adrian repeated. His mind was already racing ahead. Legal strategies, phone calls he'd need to make, favors he'd need to call in. Just keep the baby alive until the ambulance gets here. Dr. Hammond nodded and went back into the bedroom. Adrian stayed in the hallway, pulling out his phone. He had 3 calls to make and about 8 minutes to make them. First, his lawyer, David Sherman, Yale Law, 30 years of experience, ruthless when he needed to be. David answered on the second ring. Adrian, it's 10:30. What's wrong? I need you to find me the best family law attorney in Chicago. Someone who does child welfare cases. Someone who wins. What's going on? I'll explain later. Right now I need a name and I need them on call to move fast. A pause, then. Elena Rodriguez. She's at Bennett and Cross, specializes in foster care, adoption, termination of parental rights. She's scary good. Call her. Tonight. Tell her I'm retaining her as of now for an emergency matter. Money is not an issue. Adrian, just do it, David, please. Okay, you'll have her contact within 20 minutes. Second call. Reynolds. I need you to pull security footage from the park, north side, starting from 8 p.m. tonight, and I need you to be very discreet about how you get it. Understood, sir. May I ask what I'm looking for? A woman, abandoning 2 children. A beat of silence. Yes, sir. Third call was the hardest. Adrian stood there with his phone in his hand, thumb hovering over the contact. Then he put it away. Some calls couldn't be made at 10:30 at night. Some calls needed daylight and sobriety and the right words he didn't have yet. The buzzer sounded. Paramedics. The next 30 minutes dissolved into controlled chaos. EMTs swarming the bedroom, equipment and questions and radio calls to the hospital. Claire stayed glued to Noah's side. The boy watched everything with huge, terrified eyes as they loaded his sister onto a stretcher. Where are you taking her? Noah's voice was barely audible. Children's Memorial, one of the paramedics said. Best pediatric care in the state. She's going to be okay, buddy. I want to go with her. Family only in the ambulance, sorry. Adrian stepped forward. I'll bring him. Which room? The paramedic looked at him. At the penthouse apartment. At Adrian's clothes that probably cost more than a month of the paramedic's salary, making calculations. Are you family? Yes, Adrian lied. He'd sort out the details later. They wheeled Lily out. Noah tried to follow, but his legs gave out. Too much stress, too much trauma, too exhausted to move. Adrian caught him, picked him up. The boy was shaking again, but not from cold this time. I've got you, Adrian said. We'll follow right behind them, I promise. Claire stood up on unsteady feet. I'm coming too. One of the paramedics turned. Ma'am, are you okay? Your lips are blue. Only then did Adrian realize Claire was in nearly as bad shape as the children had been. She'd been standing outside for over an hour in inadequate clothing, soaking wet, freezing. Dr. Hammond? Adrian called. Check her. I'm fine. You're not fine. Dr. Hammond was already moving toward her. Sit down before you fall down. Claire sat, reluctantly. Dr. Hammond took her temperature, checked her extremities. His expression was serious but not panicked. Mild hypothermia. Early stage frostbite on 3 toes. You need to warm up slowly and stay off your feet tonight. I need to go to the hospital with them. You need to stay here and not end up in a hospital bed yourself, Dr. Hammond said firmly. You'll be no help to those children if you collapse. Claire looked at Adrian, desperate. Please, don't let them split them up. Promise me. Whatever happens, don't let them split them up. Adrian met her eyes, saw the plea there, the terror, and something else. Something that looked like a person who knew exactly what it felt like to be abandoned by the people who were supposed to protect you. I won't, he said. You have my word. The ambulance left. Marcus pulled the SUV around. Adrian carried Noah downstairs. The boy clutched against his chest, silent now. In shock, probably. In the car, Noah finally spoke. Is Claire going to leave too? No, she's staying at my apartment. You'll see her when we get back. Promise? I promise. Everyone leaves. Noah's voice was hollow, empty. Mama left. The social workers always leave. Everyone leaves. Adrian didn't know what to say to that, because the boy was right. In his experience, people left. His parents had left, in their own ways. His father to work, his mother to pills, and eventually an overdose when Adrian was 14. His wife had left. His daughter had been taken. People left. But maybe that didn't have to be the only ending. At the hospital, they admitted Lily immediately. Rushed her back behind double doors. Noah couldn't follow through. He screamed, fought. It took Adrian and 2 nurses to hold him back. You can't go back there, sweetie, one nurse said gently. But she's going to get the best care the very best. I need to be with her, Noah's voice cracked. She needs me. She needs the doctors right now, Adrian said, pulling the boy against his chest. They're going to help her, and then you'll see her, I promise. But Noah had stopped listening. He'd collapsed into Adrian's arms, sobbing, the kind of crying that came from somewhere deep, primal, ancient. Adrian held him. This stranger's child, this little boy who'd been abandoned and frozen and traumatized. And something inside Adrian, something he'd thought had frozen to death months ago, woke up. They waited in a private room. Adrian had made a phone call, pulled strings, ensured they weren't sitting in the general waiting area where people would stare and whisper and take photos. Noah sat curled against Adrian's side, not sleeping, not moving, just breathing. Adrian's phone buzzed. Elena Rodriguez. He stepped into the hallway to take the call. Mr. Cole? David Sherman gave me a brief outline. Tell me everything. Adrian did. Every detail from the park to this moment. Elena listened without interrupting. When he finished, there was a long pause. You understand what you're walking into, Elena finally said. This isn't going to be simple. CPS will get involved. There will be investigations, police, maybe criminal charges against the mother if they find her. And the children will go into emergency foster care. Can I foster them? Another pause. Longer this time. You're single. You work full-time. You have no experience with foster care. And one of the children is medically fragile. The system doesn't usually place in situations like yours. But it's possible. It's theoretically possible. If you had help, a stable home environment, character witnesses, and if you moved very fast. Elena's voice sharpened. How serious are you about this? Because if you're having a momentary crisis of conscience that's going to evaporate tomorrow morning, I need to know now. Adrian looked through the small window in the door. Noah was sitting exactly where he'd left him, small, alone, waiting for the next bad thing. I'm serious, Adrian said. Then here's what we do. They talked for 20 minutes. Strategy, timeline, what needed to happen in the next 72 hours. By the time Adrian ended the call, his head was spinning and his bank account would be significantly lighter. But there was a plan. He went back into the waiting room, sat down next to Noah. The boy looked up at him with exhausted eyes. Is Lily going to die? The question was so direct, so simple, so impossible to answer with the truth, because the truth was, maybe. The doctors are doing everything they can, Adrian said. That's not an answer. No, it wasn't. Adrian took a breath. I don't know, Noah. I hope not. But I don't know. Noah nodded, like he'd expected that. Mama said she was cursed, that bad things always happen to her. I think maybe I'm cursed too. You're not cursed. Then why did Mama leave us? Adrian didn't have an answer. He put his arm around the boy's thin shoulders. Noah leaned against him. They sat like that, not talking, waiting for news that would either break them or give them a chance to breathe. At 1:15 in the morning, a doctor emerged. Young, tired, but smiling. Lily's stable, she said. We've got her temperature back up to 94 degrees. She's getting fluids and antibiotics for an infection we found. She's going to need to stay here for a few days, maybe a week, but she's going to be okay. Noah made a sound, not quite a sob, not quite a laugh, relief mixed with exhaustion. Can I see her? He asked. Not tonight. She needs to rest. But tomorrow morning, first thing, I promise. Adrian stood, shook the doctor's hand. Thank you. She looked at him, at Noah. Are you family? Working on it, Adrian said. They left the hospital at 2 a.m. Noah fell asleep in the car on the way back, his head against Adrian's shoulder. At the penthouse, Adrian carried him upstairs, put him in the guest bedroom, covered him with blankets. The boy didn't wake up. In the living room, Claire was asleep on the couch, wrapped in the thermal blanket from earlier. Someone, probably Reynolds or Dr. Hammond, had left her a change of clothes and hot tea on the side table. Adrian stood there for a long moment, looking at his apartment, at the sleeping woman on his couch, at the little boy in his guest room, at the empty space where a baby should have been, but was instead in a hospital ICU. His phone buzzed. A text from Elena Rodriguez. CPS has been notified. They'll be at the hospital first thing in the morning. Be ready. Adrian was ready. For the first time in 8 months, he felt like he was doing something that mattered, Something that wasn't about profit margins or stock prices or maintaining an empire. He was saving 2 lives, maybe 3 if he counted Claire's, or maybe they were saving his. Outside, the snow had stopped. The storm had passed. Chicago lay quiet under a blanket of white. And inside Adrian Cole's penthouse, 3 people who had nowhere else to go had found temporary shelter. What happened next would determine if that shelter became permanent, or if, like Noah had predicted, everyone would leave. Adrian didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. There was too much to do, too many calls to make, too many pieces to move into place before morning came and everything got complicated. But for now, in this moment, 2 children were safe, warm, alive. It would have to be enough. Adrian was still awake when the sun came up, sitting at his desk with a cold cup of coffee and 3 laptops open. He'd spent the night making calls, sending emails, building a case. Elena Rodriguez had sent over a preliminary foster care application at 3 a.m. with a note that said, "Fill this out, every question, don't lie, they'll check everything." He was on page 12 of 23 when he heard movement in the hallway. Claire appeared in the doorway of his office, wearing the borrowed clothes from last night, sweatpants and a Northwestern hoodie that belonged to someone on his household staff. Her hair was a mess. Her feet were wrapped in bandages. She looked like she hadn't slept either. "What time is it?" she asked. 6:45. She blinked, processed that. "You've been up all night." "Couldn't sleep." Adrian gestured at the screens. "Had work to do." Claire moved closer, looking at the documents on the monitors. Her eyes widened when she saw what he was reading. "You're applying to be a foster parent." "Yes." "You're serious about this." "I told you I was." She studied him for a long moment. Adrian couldn't read her expression. Suspicion, maybe. Or disbelief. People didn't just do things like this. Billionaires especially didn't take in random children they found in parks. "Why?" Claire asked finally. Adrian had been asking himself the same question all night. He'd come up with a dozen different answers, all of them partially true, and none of them complete. "Because Noah asked me not to let them split him and his sister up," Adrian said. "And I told him I wouldn't. I don't break promises to children. You don't know them. You don't know anything about them." "I know they needed help and no one else was helping." Claire's jaw tightened. "That's not how the world works. You can't just decide to save people because you feel like it." "Why not?" "Because it's—" She stopped. Started again. "Because people like you don't do things like this. Rich people. They write checks to charities. They host fundraisers. They don't bring frozen children into their penthouses and apply for emergency foster care." Adrian leaned back in his chair. "What kind of people do you think do things like this?" "People who don't have other options." Claire's voice had an edge to it. "People who are desperate or broken or trying to fix something in themselves they can't fix any other way." "Maybe I'm all 3. That seemed to catch her off guard. She stared at him. "You're a billionaire CEO. What could you possibly need to fix?" Adrian almost laughed. Almost. "You'd be surprised." His phone rang before Claire could respond. "Hospital." He answered immediately. "Mr. Cole, this is Dr. Patel from Children's Memorial. Lily had a good night. Her temperature is back to normal and she's responding well to treatment. We'd like to keep her another 48 hours for observation, but the prognosis is good." Relief hit Adrian like a physical force. "Thank you. Can Noah visit this morning?" "Absolutely. Visiting hours start at 9. Adrian ended the call, looked at Claire. "Lily's going to be okay." Something in Claire's face crumbled. She put a hand over her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears she'd probably been holding back since last night. "Thank God." "I need to wake Noah. Get him ready to go see her." Adrian stood. "There's food in the kitchen. Help yourself to anything." "Wait." Claire's voice stopped him at the door. "What happens after this? After Lily gets released from the hospital? Where do they go?" "Here, if I can make it happen." "And if you can't?" Adrian met her eyes. "Then I'll find another way. But they're not getting separated. I meant what I said." He left before she could ask more questions he didn't have answers to yet. Noah was awake when Adrian opened the guest room door, sitting up in bed, staring out the window at the Chicago skyline covered in fresh snow. He looked so small in that big bed, like he could disappear into the blankets and never be found. "Hey," Adrian said softly. Noah turned. His eyes were red-rimmed but dry. Is Lily dead? No, she's doing really well. The doctor just called. We can go see her in a couple hours. Noah's whole body seemed to deflate with relief. Really? Really, but first you need to eat something. When's the last time you had a real meal? The boy's face went carefully blank. I don't remember. That was answer enough. Adrian took Noah to the kitchen, set him up at the breakfast bar. Claire was already there, moving around the space like she was trying to orient herself in a stranger's home, which Adrian supposed she was. What do you like for breakfast? Adrian asked Noah. The boy shrugged. Whatever. That's not an answer. I eat whatever there is. I'm not picky. Adrian opened the refrigerator. He had food in here. His housekeeper kept it stocked, but most of it was the kind of thing you needed to know how to prepare. Organic vegetables, expensive cuts of meat, Greek yogurt, and artisan cheese. Nothing a 5-year-old would recognize as breakfast. Claire moved past him, started pulling things out of cabinets. Found bread, peanut butter, jam. PB&J okay, Noah? The boy nodded eagerly, like that was the best thing anyone had offered him in weeks. Maybe it was. Adrian watched Claire work, efficient movements, practiced, like she'd done this before, made meals out of almost nothing, made do. You have kids? Adrian asked. Claire's hand stilled for just a second. No. But you're good with them. I was a kid once. I remember what it's like. She finished making the sandwich, cut it into triangles, set it in front of Noah. Eat slowly. Your stomach's probably not used to much food. Noah ate. Not slowly. Like he was afraid someone might take it away if he didn't finish fast enough. Adrian and Claire exchanged a look. When did you last eat? Adrian asked the boy. Noah swallowed. Mama gave me crackers. 2 days ago, I think, before she took us to the park. And before that? I don't know. Things were weird. Mama kept sleeping a lot, and she kept saying she was sick and needed medicine, but the medicine made her more sleepy. Noah's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was describing weather. Sometimes people came over and gave her money for things. I tried to feed Lily, but we didn't have any baby food left, and I didn't know how to make it. Claire made a sound. Adrian glanced at her. Her eyes were wet again. You did your best, Claire said. You kept your sister alive. That's what matters. But I couldn't stop Mama from leaving us. That wasn't your job, sweetie. That was never your job. Noah looked down at his half-eaten sandwich. Are you going to leave too, you and him? He pointed at Adrian without looking up. Claire crouched down so she was eye level with the boy. I'm not going anywhere until I know you and Lily are safe. I promise. Everyone promises, then they leave anyway. Yeah. Claire's voice was soft. I know what that feels like. Something passed between them, an understanding, the kind that only came from shared experience. Noah studied Claire's face, looking for lies, for tricks. Whatever he saw there must have satisfied him, because he nodded and went back to eating. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from Elena. CPS caseworker arriving at hospital at 9 a.m. Her name is Janet Holloway. She's thorough. Don't lie to her. Another text came through immediately after. This one from David Sherman. Background check on Claire Bennett came back. You need to see this. Call me. Adrian stepped into the hallway. Called David. Talk to me. David's voice was grim. Claire Bennett, age 30. Born in Detroit. Mother died when she was 8. Father was arrested for armed robbery when she was 9. She went into foster care. 7 different placements over 9 years. Aged out of the system at 18 with no family, no support system. Has been working minimum wage jobs ever since. Currently lives in a studio apartment in Uptown that costs 60% of her monthly income. Adrian's stomach tightened. Criminal record? Clean. Not even a parking ticket. But Adrian, she's barely surviving. 1 medical emergency away from homelessness. 1 missed shift away from eviction. And you brought her into your home. She saved those children's lives. I'm not questioning her character. I'm questioning her stability. If you're serious about fostering Noah and Lily, CPS is going to look at everyone in your household. And a woman with Claire's background, living in your penthouse, helping care for the children, they're going to have questions. Let them ask. Adrian, she's not going anywhere, David. Figure out how to make it work. He ended the call. stood there in the hallway, processing. Claire had been in foster care. That explained everything. The way she looked at Noah and Lily, the fierce protectiveness, the terror in her eyes when she talked about them being separated. She'd lived it. She knew exactly what would happen. Adrian went back to the kitchen. Claire was cleaning up, rinsing the plate Noah had used. The boy was drinking orange juice, looking more alive than he had last night. "We need to be at the hospital by 9, Adrian said. "There's going to be a social worker there. She's going to ask questions. About last night, about your mother, about everything." Noah's hand tightened on the glass. "Will she take us away?" "Not if I can help it." "That's not a promise." No, it wasn't. Adrian was learning fast that he couldn't promise much when it came to the system. He could only promise effort. "Get dressed," Adrian said. "There are clothes in the closet that should fit. My daughter's. From when she used to visit." Noah slid off the stool, disappeared down the hallway. Adrian turned to Claire. "You don't have to come. The social worker is going to ask you questions too, about your background, your living situation, why you were in that park." Claire's chin lifted. "I'm coming. Noah needs to see a familiar face." "Claire, I'm coming," she repeated, harder this time. "You can't stop me." Adrian could. Security, resources. He had both. But looking at Claire's face, the stubborn set of her jaw, the determination in her eyes, he realized he didn't want to stop her. "Fine, but we need to get our stories straight." They talked in low voices while Noah got dressed, established a timeline, made sure the facts matched. By the time they left for the hospital, Adrian felt like they were preparing for a deposition rather than a hospital visit. Maybe they were. Children's Memorial Hospital was on the north side, a sprawling complex of buildings designed to feel less intimidating to kids. Bright colors, murals on the walls, a volunteer at the front desk dressed like a cartoon character. Noah didn't care about any of it. He walked straight to the information desk. "Where's Lily Cole?" The volunteer blinked. "Is that your sister, honey?" "Yes." She typed something into her computer. Frowned. "I don't have anyone by that name admitted." Adrian stepped forward. "Try Lily Doe, Jane Doe. She came in last night through emergency." The volunteer's expression shifted. Understanding, sympathy. "4th floor, pediatric ICU, but you'll need to check in with the nurses' station first." They took the elevator up. Noah stood between Adrian and Claire, holding both their hands. His palm was sweaty, despite the hospital's air conditioning. Nervous. The 4th floor was quieter, hushed voices, soft beeping of monitors, nurses moving efficiently between rooms. Adrian approached the station. "We're here to see the baby admitted last night. Lily." The nurse looked up. Her eyes flickered to Noah, softened. "You must be the big brother. She's been asking for you." "Babies can't talk," Noah said suspiciously. "No, but they can cry for someone specific. She settles down when we say your name." The nurse stood. "Come on, I'll take you back." Lily was in a private room at the end of the hall. Monitors, IV lines, oxygen tube under her tiny nose. But her eyes were open, alert. And when Noah walked through the door, she made a sound. Not quite a cry, more like recognition. "Lily!" Noah rushed forward, then stopped, suddenly scared of all the equipment. "Can I touch her?" "Gently," the nurse said. "She's still fragile." Noah reached out with one small hand, touched his sister's fingers. The baby's hand closed around his finger immediately, holding on. Noah started crying, silent tears running down his face. "I thought you were going to die." Claire moved to his side, put a hand on his shoulder. "She's tough, like her big brother." They stayed like that for several minutes. Then a woman's voice came from the doorway. "Mr. Cole?" Adrian turned. Mid-50s, practical suit, tired eyes that had probably seen too much, carrying a folder thick with paperwork. "I'm Janet Holloway, Child Protective Services. We need to talk." They met in a conference room down the hall. Janet sat on one side of the table, Adrian and Claire on the other. Through the window, they could see Noah still sitting with Lily, holding her hand. Janet opened her folder, pulled out forms. "Let me be direct. I've been doing this job for 23 years. I've seen a lot of situations. This one is unusual." "How so?" Adrian asked. Billionaire CEO finds abandoned children in a snowstorm, brings them to his penthouse, applies for emergency foster care overnight. It's not the typical profile. She looked at him. So I need to understand your motivation. Why do you want these children? Adrian had prepared for this question, had a dozen acceptable answers ready. But sitting there, looking at this woman who'd probably heard every lie and manipulation tactic in the book, he went with the truth. I have a daughter. She's 7, lives in California with her mother. I see her twice a month if I'm lucky. He paused. When I saw that little boy standing in the snow holding his baby sister, I saw what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you don't. And I couldn't walk away from that. Janet wrote something down. And you, Ms. Bennett, you were with the children when Mr. Cole found you. Tell me about that. Claire's hands clenched in her lap. I was walking home from work. I heard crying. Found them on a bench. They'd been there for over an hour. The mother was gone. Did you see the mother? No. Did the boy describe her? Claire glanced at Adrian. He nodded. He said she was crying, that she told him she'd come back, but she didn't. He said she'd been acting strange, sleeping a lot, taking medicine that made her sleepy. Janet's expression didn't change, but Adrian saw her write something down, underlined it. We're looking for the mother now. If we find her, there will be criminal charges, abandonment, child endangerment, possibly more depending on what else we uncover. The children are victims, Adrian said, not leverage for charges. I agree, which is why I need to make sure they're placed somewhere safe while we investigate. Janet looked directly at him. You're not approved as a foster parent. You have no training, no home study, no background check completed. Under normal circumstances, I couldn't even consider you. These aren't normal circumstances. No, they're not. Janet flipped through more papers. The baby is medically fragile. She needs specialized care, formula, medication, monitoring. The boy is traumatized. He won't let anyone near his sister except you two. Separating them would cause psychological harm. Claire leaned forward. So don't separate them. Miss Bennett, do you have a place to live? The question was pointed. Claire's face went carefully neutral. Yes. With room for 2 children? Silence. They both knew the answer. Janet turned to Adrian. I'm going to make a decision that will probably get me in trouble with my supervisor. I'm granting you emergency temporary custody, 72 hours. In that time, you need to complete a home study, background checks, and prove you have a stable environment for these children. Adrian felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. In 72 hours, I'm coming back, and if everything isn't in order, those children go into foster care. Separately, if necessary, because finding a placement that will take both a traumatized 5-year-old and a medically fragile infant is nearly impossible. She stood, handed Adrian a stack of paperwork. These are the requirements. Complete them all. No exceptions. After Janet left, Adrian and Claire sat in the conference room staring at the paperwork. 72 hours, Claire said. That's not enough time. It has to be. Adrian pulled out his phone, started making calls. The next 3 days became a blur of activity. Elena Rodriguez moved like a force of nature, coordinating home inspectors, background checks, reference interviews. Adrian's penthouse was invaded by social workers, pediatric nurses, child psychologists, all of whom needed to sign off on the placement. Claire stayed. Despite Adrian telling her she could leave, despite having her own life to get back to, she stayed. Helped coordinate meal schedules for Noah, learned how to prepare Lily's formula, made herself indispensable in ways Adrian hadn't expected. On the second night, while Noah slept in the guest room and Lily was still in the hospital, Adrian found Claire in the kitchen at 2 a.m. Can't sleep? He asked. She startled, nearly dropped the mug she was holding. I keep thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Adrian poured himself coffee, joined her at the breakfast bar. We're doing everything we can. Is it enough? I don't know. Claire looked at him. What happens if they say no? If they take the children anyway? Then I find another way. I hire more lawyers. I file appeals. I make noise until someone listens. That's not how it works for people like me. People like them. She gestured vaguely toward where Noah was sleeping. You throw money at problems and they go away. The rest of us just have to live with whatever the system decides. Adrian set down his cup. Is that what happened to you? Claire's face closed off. That's none of your business. David ran a background check. I know you were in foster care. Of course you did. Her voice was bitter. Rich people always need to know everything. I needed to know if you were safe to have around the children. And what did your expensive background check tell you? That I'm poor, that I have no family, that I've spent my entire adult life barely surviving? Claire stood. Congratulations, you know my whole sad story. That's not why I looked. Then why? Because I need to know who I'm working with, who Noah and Lily are trusting, and because Adrian stopped. He wasn't sure how to finish that sentence. Because what? Claire demanded. Because you're the only person who stayed. Everyone else in my life eventually leaves. My parents, my wife, my daughter, even though that wasn't her choice. But you found 2 children freezing to death and you didn't leave them. You stayed in a storm that could have killed you. Why? Claire was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. Because I know what it's like to be left. I know what it feels like to be 5 years old and scared and watching the only person you trust walk away. I know what it's like to be shuffled between houses where nobody really wants you, where you're just another case file, another problem to manage. She met his eyes. I couldn't do that to them. I couldn't be another person who walked away. Adrian understood, more than she probably realized. My mother overdosed when I was 14. My father was never around before that and disappeared completely after. I was raised by nannies and boarding schools. When I had Sophia, I promised myself I'd be different. I'd be present. I'd be the father I never had. What happened? I worked too much, prioritized the wrong things. My marriage fell apart, and my wife took our daughter across the country. The court gave her primary custody because I couldn't prove I'd actually be home enough to raise a child. Adrian's laugh was hollow. Turns out you can't buy back time you didn't spend. Is that why you're doing this, trying to fix your mistakes? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just trying to do one thing right. They sat in silence after that. Not uncomfortable. Just 2 people who understood what it meant to be broken in specific ways. On the morning of the 3rd day, Janet Holloway returned. She inspected the apartment, reviewed the completed paperwork, interviewed Noah while Adrian and Claire waited in the living room. When she finally emerged, her expression was unreadable. The boy is adamant he wants to stay here. He trusts you. She looked at Claire. Both of you. And? Adrian asked. And I'm extending the emergency placement for another 2 weeks, with conditions. You need to complete parenting classes. Ms. Bennett needs to formalize her role here, either as an employee or a co-guardian. The baby needs regular medical checkups, and you both need to attend family counseling with Noah. Done, Adrian said immediately. Janet nodded. The hospital is releasing Lily tomorrow. She'll need round-the-clock care for the first week. Can you handle that? Claire spoke up. I can. I'll stay here. Help with nights. You understand this isn't a temporary situation? If this placement becomes permanent, these children will need stability, consistency, not someone who's here today and gone tomorrow. I understand, Claire said. But Adrian saw the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. After Janet left, Adrian turned to Claire. You don't have to do this. Stay here. Give up your life. What life? Claire's voice was sharp. Working double shifts at a diner? Living in a studio apartment where I can't afford to turn the heat above 60? That's not a life. That's survival. It's your survival, your independence. And maybe I'm tired of just surviving. She looked toward Noah's room. Maybe I want to actually help someone. Maybe I want to matter. You matter, Adrian said. Claire met his eyes. Something passed between them, something neither of them was ready to name yet. We should set up the nursery, Claire said, breaking the moment. Lily comes home tomorrow. They converted one of Adrian's spare bedrooms into a space for the baby. Crib, changing table, monitors. Adrian ordered everything overnight delivery, the cost irrelevant. Claire organized it all, her movements efficient, practiced. You really are good at this, Adrian observed. I babysat a lot as a teenager. Foster kids do that, work for money any way they can. Is that how you survived after you aged out? Claire was quiet for a moment. I got a job at a factory, worked there for 3 years until it closed. Then I bounced between restaurants, diners mostly, places that paid under the table and didn't ask too many questions. She arranged blankets in the crib. I almost got an apartment with a friend once. Real apartment, not just a room. But she got pregnant and moved back to her hometown, so I kept the studio and kept working and kept telling myself eventually things would get better. Did they? No, they just got familiar. Adrian watched her work. This woman who'd had every reason to become bitter, cynical, closed off. But instead, she'd stopped in a snowstorm for two children who weren't hers, had stayed when she could have left, had chosen to care when indifference would have been easier. "I want to pay you," Adrian said. Claire's hands stilled. "What?" "For staying, for helping with Noah and Lily. This isn't charity, it's a job. I'll pay you a salary, benefits, whatever you need." "I don't want your money." "Why not?" "Because that changes what this is. It makes it transactional." "It's already transactional," Adrian pointed out. "You're providing childcare. That's work. Work should be compensated." Claire turned to face him. "I'm not doing this for money." "Then why are you doing it?" She didn't answer, just went back to organizing the nursery. But Adrian saw her wipe at her eyes. That night, Noah had nightmares. Adrian heard the screaming from down the hall, ran to the guest room, found the boy sitting up in bed, trembling, tears streaming down his face. Hey, you're okay." Adrian sat on the edge of the bed. "You're safe." "Mama was there. In the park. She was leaving again and I couldn't stop her." Noah's voice broke. "I tried to hold on, but she kept walking away. It was just a dream. But it happened. She really left us." Adrian didn't have a response to that, because it was true. The boy's mother had abandoned him in the worst possible way. Claire appeared in the doorway. "Noah?" The boy looked up, reached for her. Claire moved to the bed, sat on the other side. Noah crawled into her lap like she was the most natural source of comfort in the world. "I'm scared," Noah whispered. "I know, baby, I know." "What if you leave too? What if everyone leaves?" Claire looked at Adrian over Noah's head. Something passed between them, a decision being made without words. "I'm not leaving," Claire said firmly. "I promise, even when things get hard, even when you have more nightmares, I'm staying right here." "You promise?" "I promise." Noah clung to her. Eventually, his breathing evened out. He fell asleep, still holding onto Claire's shirt. She looked at Adrian helplessly. "I can't move without waking him up." Adrian grabbed pillows from the closet. "Then don't move. Sleep here tonight." They arranged themselves awkwardly on the guest bed, Noah between them curled against Claire, Adrian on the edge trying not to take up too much space. It was uncomfortable, cramped, nothing like the luxury he was used to. It felt more like home than anything had in years. The next morning, they brought Lily home from the hospital. A nurse went over care instructions, feeding schedule, medications, warning signs to watch for. Claire absorbed it all, asking questions, taking notes. Noah refused to let go of his sister, even when she cried, even when she needed to be changed or fed. He stayed close, one small hand always touching her. "He's going to be okay," Claire said, watching them. "Eventually." "How do you know?" "Because he has people who care now. That's more than some kids ever get." Adrian thought about his own childhood. The empty house, the absent father, the mother who self-medicated until she didn't wake up. He'd had money, privilege, access to everything except what he actually needed. These children had lost everything, but somehow, in this penthouse, with a billionaire who didn't know what he was doing and a woman who'd survived her own foster care nightmare, they might have found something worth keeping. 2 weeks became a month. Emergency placement became temporary custody. Janet Holloway kept extending the arrangement, always with new conditions, new requirements. Adrian met them all. Claire officially moved in. Not as an employee, though Adrian kept trying to pay her. As something else. Co-guardian, maybe. Family, possibly. Neither of them examined it too closely. Noah started smiling again. Not often, not easily. But occasionally Adrian would catch him laughing at something small. A bird outside the window. Lily making a funny face. The normalcy of breakfast without fear. And slowly, impossibly, Adrian's empty penthouse stopped feeling empty. 3 months in, Adrian realized he'd stopped thinking of his penthouse as his space. It had become theirs. Evidence was everywhere. Noah's drawings taped to the refrigerator, Lily's toys scattered across the living room floor, Claire's coffee mug in the sink every morning, the one with the chipped handle she refused to replace because it was, as she said, perfectly functional. The transformation happened so gradually, Adrian almost missed it. One day, he was a man living alone in 4,000 square feet of carefully curated emptiness. The next, he was stepping over baby bottles at 3 a.m. and finding Cheerios in his briefcase. He didn't hate it. That was the surprising part. "You're smiling," Claire said one morning, catching him staring at a crayon masterpiece Noah had created on what used to be his home office wall. "Noah drew on my wall." "I know. I told him to use paper, but he said paper was too small for his vision." Claire handed him coffee. "Are you mad?" Adrian studied the drawing. It was supposed to be their family, according to the labels. 4 stick figures holding hands. Dad was tall with yellow hair that stuck straight up. Claire had a purple dress. Me was small with big eyes. And Lily was just a circle with a smile. "No," Adrian said. "I'm not mad." Claire tilted her head, studying him. "You're different than you were 3 months ago." "Different how?" "Less," she gestured vaguely. "Less like a guy who runs a tech empire and more like someone who actually lives here." She wasn't wrong. Adrian had started leaving work at 5 instead of 8, had begun taking calls from home instead of the office, had missed 2 board meetings because Lily had a doctor's appointment, and Noah refused to go with anyone except him and Claire. His assistant had stopped trying to schedule evening meetings. His executives had adapted to his new boundaries. And the board, well, the board had opinions, strong ones. "We need to discuss your recent performance metrics," Charles Brennan had said 2 weeks ago, cornering Adrian after a shareholder presentation. Charles was old money, board member since Adrian's grandfather ran the company, and perpetually skeptical of anything that didn't directly increase profit margins. "My performance is fine," Adrian had replied. "You've delegated 3 major client meetings. You're leaving the office during peak hours. Your focus appears to be," Charles had paused delicately, "divided. I have personal obligations. You have a company to run." Adrian had looked at Charles, at this man who'd built an empire on the backs of people he'd never met, who measured success only in numbers that went up on screens, and realized he didn't care what Charles thought anymore. "The company is running fine, revenue is up, we're ahead of projections. If the board has specific concerns about my performance, they can address them formally." Charles had pursed his lips. "Your grandfather wouldn't have approved of this distraction." "My grandfather died alone in a hospital room because everyone in his life, including me, was too busy working to visit him." Adrian had kept his voice level. "So forgive me if I don't use him as my model for work-life balance." The conversation had ended there, but Adrian knew it wasn't over. The board was watching, waiting for him to fail. To prove that you couldn't build an empire and actually have a life worth living, he was determined to prove them wrong. "Earth to Adrian," Claire said, waving a hand in front of his face. "You zoned out. Sorry, work stuff. Is everything okay?" "Yeah, just politics." Adrian sipped his coffee. "Where's Noah?" "Still asleep. He had another nightmare last night around 2. Did you hear him?" "No." "I got him settled down pretty quickly. He's getting better." Claire leaned against the counter. "The therapist said nightmares are normal. His brain is processing trauma. It might take months before they stop completely." Noah had started seeing Dr. Sarah Chen, a child psychologist who specialized in abandonment trauma. Twice a week, regular as clockwork. At first, Noah had refused to talk to her, just sat in her office, silent and suspicious. But Dr. Chen was patient. She'd waited him out. Eventually, Noah had started opening up in small increments. Last week, he'd told her about the time his mother forgot him at a grocery store for 4 hours. The week before that, about the men who came to their apartment at night and scared him. Each session revealed another piece of the nightmare Noah's life had been before that December night. "Did he talk about what the nightmare was about?" Adrian asked. "Same as usual. His mother leaving, being cold, Lily dying." Claire's voice was tight. "He asked me again if I was going to leave." "What did you tell him?" "The same thing I always tell him, that I'm staying." She set down her mug harder than necessary. "I just wish he'd believe me." "He will. Eventually." "You don't know that." "No," Adrian admitted, "but I know trauma doesn't heal on anyone's schedule but its own." Claire looked at him sharply. "You sound like you're speaking from experience." Adrian didn't answer. Some things were easier left unsaid. The sound of Lily crying came from the nursery. Claire moved automatically toward the sound, but Adrian stopped her. I've got her. You finish your coffee. Lily was standing in her crib, tiny hands gripping the rails, tears streaming down her face. At 9 months old, she was finally starting to catch up developmentally. The malnutrition and neglect had delayed her milestones, but with proper care she was making progress. Hey, little one, Adrian said, picking her up. She immediately stopped crying, buried her face against his shoulder. Bad dream. Lily didn't answer, obviously. But she clung to him with the desperate strength of someone who'd learned early that comfort wasn't guaranteed. Adrian changed her diaper, got her dressed, carried her to the kitchen. Noah was awake now, sitting at the breakfast bar with bedhead and sleepy eyes. Morning, Adrian said. Noah grunted. Not a morning person, never had been. Claire was making pancakes, actual pancakes, from scratch, not the frozen kind Adrian had been buying. She'd taken over most of the cooking, claiming his kitchen was wasted on someone who only knew how to order takeout. I can cook, Adrian had protested the first time she'd said it. Reheating isn't cooking. I make a decent omelet. You make a passable scrambled egg that you call an omelet. She wasn't wrong. Now, watching her flip pancakes while simultaneously bouncing Lily on her hip and keeping an eye on Noah, Adrian wondered how he'd ever functioned without her. We need to talk about Sophia, Claire said, not looking up from the stove. Adrian tensed. What about her? She's visiting next week for spring break. Have you told her about Noah and Lily? I mentioned it. Mentioned it how? I said I was temporarily fostering 2 children. Claire turned to stare at him. Temporarily? You used the word temporarily. Well, it is temporary, until the adoption goes through. Adrian, Claire's voice had that tone, the one that meant he'd screwed up and was about to get educated about it. Your daughter is 7 years old. She's coming to visit her father and discovering she has 2 siblings she knew nothing about. You can't just spring that on her. I didn't spring it on her. I told her. Telling her and preparing her are 2 different things. Noah looked up from his orange juice. Who's Sophia? My daughter, Adrian said. She lives in California with her mother. She's coming to visit next week. Noah processed this information. You have a daughter already? Yes. So we're not your real kids. The words hung in the air. Claire stopped cooking. Adrian felt something twist in his chest. You are my real kids, Adrian said carefully. Family isn't just about biology. That's what people say when they don't want you anymore. Noah's voice was matter of fact. Our social worker in the hospital said we'd find a real family someday, like we weren't real to our mom. Adrian crouched down to Noah's eye level. Listen to me. You and Lily are my family. Period. Sophia is also my family. That doesn't make either of you less real or less important. But if you had to choose, I don't have to choose, and I won't. Noah stared at him, looking for the lie, the trick. The moment when Adrian would reveal this was all conditional. Okay, Noah said finally, but he didn't sound convinced. The week before Sophia's visit, Adrian threw himself into preparation. He had her bedroom repainted in her current favorite color, turquoise, according to his ex-wife. Bought new bedding, stocked the apartment with the snacks she liked. You're nervous, Claire observed, watching him rearrange Sophia's room for the 3rd time. I'm not nervous. You've moved that lamp 4 times. Adrian set the lamp down. I just want everything to be perfect. She's 7. She doesn't care about interior design. She cares that her father remembers what she likes. Claire was quiet for a moment. When's the last time you saw her? 6 weeks ago. I flew out for her birthday. And before that? 2 months. Adrian sat on the edge of Sophia's bed. The custody arrangement is complicated. Her mother has primary custody. I get 2 weekends a month and holidays, but work always... He stopped. Work used to get in the way a lot. Used to? I'm trying to be better. Because of Noah and Lily? Because I don't want to lose another child. The confession came out rawer than he intended. Claire moved to sit beside him. You're not going to lose Sophia, she said quietly. How do you know? Because you're here. You're trying. That's more than a lot of parents do. Adrian wanted to believe her, but the fear was already there, taking root. What if Sophia hated the new arrangement? What if she felt replaced? What if bringing Noah and Lily into his life cost him the daughter he already had? Sophia arrived on a Wednesday afternoon. Adrian picked her up from the airport alone, leaving Noah and Lily with Claire. He wanted this first reunion to be private, just the two of them, like old times. Except nothing was like old times anymore. Sophia came through the gate holding her mother's hand. She'd grown since February. Her hair was longer. She was wearing clothes Adrian didn't recognize. For a moment, she looked like a stranger. Then she saw him and smiled. "Daddy!" She ran to him. Adrian caught her, lifted her up, held her tight. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and airplane pretzels. "Hey, baby girl," he said. "I missed you." "I missed you too." She pulled back to look at him. "Mom said you have kids living with you now." "I do. A boy and a baby girl. They're excited to meet you." Sophia's expression was uncertain. "Are they nice?" "Very nice. The boy's name is Noah. He's 5, and the baby is Lily. She's almost 10 months old. Why are they living with you?" How to explain this to a 7-year-old? Adrian chose simple truth. Because they needed a home and I had space, so I'm fostering them, taking care of them until we can make it permanent. Like adoption? Exactly like adoption. Sophia chewed on this. Does that mean they're going to be my brother and sister? If the adoption goes through, yes. What if I don't want a brother and sister? Adrian's ex-wife, Jennifer, stepped forward. She looked tired, stressed. Her new husband was conspicuously absent. "Sophia, sweetie, we talked about this on the plane." "I know, but I changed my mind." Jennifer met Adrian's eyes. Her expression said, "See what you've done?" They collected Sophia's luggage in tense silence. In the car, Sophia sat in the back seat, arms crossed, staring out the window. "Are you hungry?" Adrian asked. "We could stop for dinner." "I'm not hungry." "Ice cream?" "No." Adrian glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. "Talk to me, Soph. What's wrong?" "You replaced me." The words hit like a physical blow. "What? No. Absolutely not. You got new kids, better kids, kids who live with you all the time." "Sophia, I bet you don't even miss me anymore. I bet you're happy I only visit twice a month." Adrian pulled the car over, turned to face her. "Listen to me. You are my daughter. Nothing changes that. Not geography, not custody arrangements, and definitely not Noah and Lily." "Then why did you adopt them?" "I haven't adopted them yet. And I didn't go looking for this. It happened because 2 children needed help and I was there." He paused. "But you're right that things are different now. I have responsibilities I didn't have before, but that doesn't mean I love you less." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Mom said you're starting a new family. A replacement family because we left." Adrian made a mental note to have words with Jennifer later, strong words. "Your mother is wrong. You are my family. You always will be. And I'm hoping that maybe Noah and Lily can be part of our family too. But only if you're okay with that." "What if I'm not okay with it?" Honest question, deserved an honest answer. "Then we'll figure it out together. But I'm asking you to give them a chance, please." Sophia wiped her eyes. "Do they know about me?" "Yes. Noah's nervous about meeting you." "Why?" "Because he's scared you won't like him, that you'll think he's taking your place." Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a small voice, "I'm scared of that too." "I know, baby, but you're both wrong. There's enough space in my life for all of you." They got back on the road. Sophia was quiet the rest of the way, but she'd uncrossed her arms. Small progress. At the penthouse, Claire had clearly prepared for this moment. Noah was dressed in clean clothes, hair combed. Lily was in her bouncer, gurgling happily. The apartment was tidied. Sophia's favorite cookies were on the counter. Claire came forward, smiling. "Hi, Sophia. I'm Claire. Your dad's told me so much about you." Sophia looked at Claire with undisguised suspicion. "Are you my dad's girlfriend?" "No, I help take care of Noah and Lily." "Like a nanny?" "Sort of, but more involved than that." Sophia turned to Adrian. "Is she going to be my stepmother?" "No," Adrian and Claire said simultaneously. Noah appeared from the hallway. He stopped when he saw Sophia. For a moment, the 2 children just stared at each other. "Hi," Noah said finally. "Hi." Silence. Awkward. Painful. "Do you want to see my room?" Noah asked. Sophia shrugged. "I guess." They disappeared down the hall. Adrian looked at Claire helplessly. Give them time, Claire said. This is hard for both of them. What if they hate each other? Then they hate each other. You can't force relationships. Adrian started to respond but was interrupted by shouting from Noah's room. That's mine. I was just looking. Don't touch my stuff. Adrian and Claire rushed down the hall, found Sophia holding one of Noah's toy cars and Noah looking ready to cry. What's going on? Adrian asked. She touched my car, Noah said. His voice was shaking. I told her not to touch anything. I barely touched it, Sophia protested. I was just seeing what it was. It's mine. Everything in this room is mine. She can't have it. Adrian recognized the panic in Noah's voice. This wasn't about the car. This was about control, safety, the fear that anything you cared about could be taken away. Noah, Adrian said gently, Sophia wasn't trying to take your car. She was just curious. I don't care. It's mine. Sophia's face was red. Fine. I don't want your stupid car anyway. She threw it on the floor and stormed out. Noah grabbed the car, clutched it to his chest, started crying. Everyone takes everything. Everyone leaves and takes things, and I can't. Claire was already there, pulling Noah into her arms. It's okay. Nobody's taking anything. Your toys are safe. But Sophia didn't know. She didn't understand how important your things are to you, but now she does. Adrian found Sophia in her room, face down on the bed, crying into a pillow. Go away, she said when she heard him. Not a chance. Adrian sat on the edge of the bed. Want to tell me what that was really about? He's mean. He's traumatized. What's that mean? It means he's been through really bad things and he's still learning to feel safe. When you touched his toy, he got scared because in his old life, people took his things. People hurt him. He's not being mean. He's being scared. Sophia rolled over. Her face was blotchy from crying. I didn't mean to scare him. I know. But maybe next time ask before touching his stuff. Okay. She was quiet for a moment. Is that why you're fostering them? Because they were hurt? Yes. Do you love them more than me? There it was. The real question. The fear underneath everything. Adrian lay down next to his daughter. Look at me, Soph. When she did, he continued, I love you completely, wholly. Nothing changes that. Noah and Lily don't take away from that love. Love isn't a pie where everyone gets a smaller slice when more people show up. It's more like... He struggled for a metaphor. It's more like light. You can light 1,000 candles from one flame and the first candle doesn't get dimmer. That doesn't make sense. Maybe not, but it's true. I have enough love for all three of you. Sophia thought about this. What if Noah never stops being scared? Then we'll keep being patient until he does. And if he hates me? He doesn't hate you. He's just scared you'll replace him. Same way you're scared he'll replace you. That seemed to surprise her. Really? Really, you're both afraid of the same thing. Sophia sat up. I should apologize. Probably. They found Noah in the living room with Claire and Lily. Noah was holding his sister, rocking her gently. He looked up when Sophia approached, immediately defensive. I'm sorry, Sophia said, for touching your car. I should have asked first. Noah studied her. Okay. Can we start over? How? Sophia thought for a moment, then she pulled a small stuffed rabbit from her backpack. This is Mr. Hopper's. He's my favorite. I've had him since I was 3. She held it out. Do you want to hold him? Noah's eyes widened. Really? Yeah, but you have to be gentle. He's old. Noah carefully took the rabbit, held it like it was made of glass. He's soft. His fur used to be brighter, but it got worn down from all the hugs. I never had a stuffed animal, Noah said quietly. Mama couldn't afford them. Sophia sat down next to him. You can borrow Mr. Hopper's whenever you want, as long as you promise to give him back. Something in Noah's face shifted. I promise. They sat together like that, Noah holding the rabbit, Sophia watching him carefully. Not friends yet, but not enemies either. A beginning. The week passed in fits and starts, good moments and terrible ones. Sophia and Noah fought over the TV remote, bonded over finger painting, avoided each other at breakfast, built a blanket fort together after dinner. Claire navigated it all with the patience of someone who'd learned early how to survive in fractured families. Adrian watched her mediate disputes, comfort tears, create moments of peace in the chaos. She was better at this than he was, natural in ways he had to work at. On Sophia's last night, they ordered pizza and watched a movie. Noah fell asleep halfway through, his head on Sophia's shoulder. Lily was in Claire's lap, fighting sleep but losing. "This is weird," Sophia whispered to Adrian. "What is?" "Having siblings. I always wanted brothers and sisters, but I thought they'd be like normal siblings, not foster kids." "What's the difference?" Sophia thought about it. "I guess there isn't one. They're just kids who need a family." "Exactly. Are you really going to adopt them?" "If the court approves it, yes. Then I guess that makes them my brother and sister for real." "How do you feel about that?" Sophia looked at Noah sleeping against her, at Lily finally giving in to exhaustion in Claire's arms. "I think it's okay. Noah's not so bad once you figure out his rules, and Lily's pretty cute." "Yeah," Adrian agreed. "They really are." At the airport the next day, Sophia hugged Adrian tight. "I'll visit again soon, right? As soon as school's out for summer, and I'll come see you in California next month. Promise?" "Promise." She pulled back. "Take care of Noah and Lily, even when I'm not here." "I will." "And tell Claire I said goodbye. She's nice. I like her." "I'll tell her." Sophia started toward security, then turned back. "Dad? I don't think you replaced me. I think you just got bigger." Adrian's throat tightened. "So did you, baby girl." He watched until she disappeared through security. Then he drove home to the penthouse that was no longer empty, to the children who were no longer strangers, to the life he hadn't planned but couldn't imagine giving up. Claire was in the kitchen when he arrived, chopping vegetables for dinner. Noah was at the table with crayons. Lily was in her high chair, throwing Cheerios on the floor with scientific precision. "How'd drop-off go?" Claire asked. "Better than pickup. She's okay with everything. She and Noah made peace." "I told you they would." "You were right," Claire smiled. "Say that again. I want to savor it." Adrian laughed, moved to the refrigerator to grab a drink, noticed a new drawing on the door. This one showed 5 stick figures. The labels read Dad, Claire, Noah, Lily, and Sophia. "Noah drew that this morning," Claire said, following his gaze. "He asked me how to spell Sophia's name." Adrian stared at the drawing, at this little boy's version of family, at the way Noah had included all of them, even Sophia, who only visited twice a month. "We're doing okay," Adrian said. Not a question, an observation. "Yeah," Claire agreed, we really are." But even as she said it, Adrian saw the envelope on the counter. Official letterhead, Family Court. He picked it up, already knowing what it would say before he opened it. "What is it?" Claire asked, her voice tight with worry. Adrian read the letter twice. Then he set it down carefully. "They found Noah and Lily's mother," he said. "She wants them back." The silence that followed Adrian's words was absolute. Claire's knife stopped mid-chop. Noah looked up from his crayons. Even Lily seemed to sense something was wrong. Her Cheerio throwing paused. "What?" Claire's voice came out barely above a whisper. Adrian picked up the letter again, scanning the legal language. "Her name is Amanda Hayes. She's been in a court-ordered rehabilitation program for the past 4 months. Her attorney is petitioning for reunification." "No." Claire's face had gone pale. "No, she can't just... She abandoned them. She left them to die in a snowstorm. She's their biological mother. The court has to consider..." "I don't care what the court has to consider." Claire's voice was rising. "She doesn't get to do this. She doesn't get to throw them away and then change her mind when it's convenient." Noah stood up from the table. His small voice cut through their argument. "Mama's coming back?" Adrian's stomach dropped. He'd forgotten Noah was right there, hearing everything. "Noah, is Mama coming to get us?" The boy's eyes were huge, terrified. Claire moved to him immediately, crouching down. "Nobody's taking you anywhere. You're safe here." "But the letter said..." "The letter says your mother wants to see you," Adrian said carefully. "That's all. Nothing's been decided." Noah started shaking, full body tremors. "I don't want to go back, please. Please don't make us go back." "We won't," Claire said fiercely. She looked at Adrian. Tell him we won't. Adrian wanted to promise this child that he'd never have to see the woman who'd left him freezing in a park again. But he'd learned enough about the legal system to know that promises like that could break you. I'm going to do everything I can, Adrian said. That's what I can promise. Everything I can. It wasn't enough. Noah's face crumpled. He ran from the kitchen, down the hall. A door slammed. Claire stood. Her hands were shaking. You need to call Elena, right now. It's 7 p.m. I don't care what time it is. Call her. Adrian made the call. Elena picked up on the third ring, sounding distracted. Adrian, I was just about to contact you. You got the notice? Just saw it. What are we dealing with? Amanda Hayes completed a 90-day inpatient program. She's been clean for 4 months. She's in transitional housing, working a part-time job, attending NA meetings twice a week. Her attorney is arguing that she's addressed the issues that led to the abandonment and deserves a chance at reunification. She left 2 children in a snowstorm. The baby almost died. I know. And that's our strongest argument, but the court's primary objective is family preservation when possible. If the mother can demonstrate she's addressed her addiction and can provide a safe home. Can she? Adrian interrupted. Provide a safe home. She's in transitional housing working part-time. That's barely stable. Elena was quiet for a moment. The hearing is scheduled for 3 weeks from now. Judge Marianne Caldwell presiding. She's fair, but she's also a strong believer in giving parents second chances. What are our odds? Honestly, 50-50. Maybe worse. You're not the biological parent. You've only had the children for 4 months, and despite the abandonment, the mother is showing signs of genuine rehabilitation. Adrian closed his eyes. What do we need to do? Document everything, every milestone the children have hit in your care. Medical records showing improvement. Psychological evaluations demonstrating attachment and stability. We need to prove that removing them from your home would cause significant harm. And if that's not enough, then we prepare for the possibility that Noah and Lily go back to their mother. After the call ended, Adrian sat at the kitchen counter staring at nothing. Claire was cleaning up dinner, her movements sharp and angry. This isn't fair, she said. No, it's not. She doesn't deserve them. She doesn't deserve another chance. The court disagrees. Claire slammed a pot into the sink. The court is wrong. You know what's going to happen if she gets them back? She's going to use for another month, maybe 2, and then she's going to fall apart again. And those children will be the ones who suffer. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Claire turned to face him. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I know exactly how this goes. I lived it. Foster home to bio-parent to foster home to bio-parent. Every time they promised it would be different. Every time it wasn't. And every time I got sent back, I died a little more inside. Adrian stood, moved toward her. Claire, wow. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't tell me it'll be okay. Don't tell me the system works. It doesn't. It just keeps breaking the same kids over and over until there's nothing left to break. So what do? We fight. Whatever it takes, we fight. The next 3 weeks were a nightmare of preparation. Elena's team conducted home studies, interviewed neighbors, compiled medical records. Adrian's calendar filled with depositions, character witness prep, strategy sessions. The board at Techstone grew increasingly irritated with his absences, but Adrian stopped caring about their opinions. Claire threw herself into documentation. Photos of every milestone, videos of Lily's first steps, written logs of Noah's nightmares decreasing in frequency. She built a case in spreadsheets and manila folders, evidence that these children were thriving. But Noah was falling apart. The nightmares came back with a vengeance. He started wetting the bed again, something he hadn't done in weeks. He stopped eating, stopped drawing, just sat in his room, clutching Mr. Hopper's, the rabbit Sophia had let him keep, and staring at nothing. I tried to get him to talk about it, Claire said one evening. He won't. He just keeps asking when Mama's coming. What do you tell him? The truth, that we don't know yet. Dr. Chen had increased Noah's therapy sessions to 3 times a week. After one particularly difficult session, she pulled Adrian aside. He's regressing, Dr. Chen said. All the progress we've made is unraveling. The uncertainty is destroying him. What can we do? Give him certainty. One way or another, this needs to be resolved quickly. But quick wasn't how the court system worked. Everything moved at a glacial pace, forms and procedures and bureaucratic delays that didn't account for a traumatized 5-year-old's emotional state. 2 weeks before the hearing, Elena called with news. Amanda Hayes wants to meet the children. Absolutely not, Adrian said immediately. It's not optional. The court ordered a supervised visit. She has that right. She has no rights. She gave those up when she abandoned them. Adrian, I understand you're angry, but fighting this will only make us look unreasonable. The visit is happening. The only question is whether we cooperate or make the judge think we're trying to alienate the children from their mother. The visit was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Child Protective Services Office. 1 hour. Supervised by a social worker. Adrian didn't tell Noah until the night before. The boy was getting ready for bed when Adrian sat down beside him. Hey, buddy, we need to talk. Noah's face immediately closed off. He knew. Somehow, he always knew when bad news was coming. Your mother wants to see you and Lily tomorrow. No. Noah. I said no. I'm not going. Noah's voice was rising. You can't make me. I'm not trying to make you do anything, but there are rules we have to follow. The court says you have to meet with her. Then I'll tell the court no. I'll tell them I don't want to see her. You'll have a chance to do that at the hearing. But tomorrow you need to... Tss. Noah started screaming. Not words, just raw sound. He grabbed things off his nightstand and threw them. Books, toys, the lamp. Claire came running, followed by Reynolds from down the hall. Noah, stop! Claire tried to grab him, but he twisted away. I hate her. I hate her, and I hate you for making me see her. We're not making you... Adrian started. Yes, you are. Noah's face was red, tears streaming. Everyone always makes me do things I don't want to do. Nobody ever listens. Nobody cares what I want. He collapsed then, just crumpled to the floor, sobbing. Claire gathered him up despite his attempts to push her away. I know, she murmured. I know it's scary. I know you don't want to, but we'll be right there. We won't leave you alone with her. Promise? I promise. It took an hour to calm him down, another hour to get him to sleep. Adrian and Claire sat in the hallway outside his room afterward, exhausted. This is going to break him, Claire said. I know. There has to be another way. There isn't. Claire leaned her head back against the wall. I can't watch this happen. I can't watch them rip these children away from the first stable home they've ever had and give them back to someone who's going to hurt them again. We don't know that she will. Don't we? Claire turned to look at him. Be honest. Do you really believe Amanda Hayes is going to stay clean, that she's going to be a good mother? Adrian wanted to say yes, wanted to believe in redemption and second chances, but he'd seen the statistics, the relapse rates for opioid addiction, the likelihood of repeat neglect in cases like this. No, he admitted, I don't. Then we can't let her have them. Claire, what are you suggesting? She was quiet for a long moment, then, I don't know. But there has to be something we can do. The CPS office was depressing in the way all government buildings were depressing. Gray walls, fluorescent lighting, furniture that looked designed to be uncomfortable. Adrian, Claire, and the children sat in a waiting room that smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation. Noah hadn't spoken all morning. He sat pressed against Claire's side, holding Lily in his lap, even though she was getting too big to be held comfortably. The baby was fussy, picking up on the tension. Janet Holloway emerged from a back office. They're ready for you. The meeting room was small. A table, chairs, a one-way mirror on the wall that probably had observers behind it. And sitting at the table, looking nervous and fragile, was Amanda Hayes. She was younger than Adrian expected. Mid-20s maybe. Thin in the way people got when they'd been using for a long time. Blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. Wearing clean clothes that looked new but cheap. When she saw Noah and Lily, her face transformed. Oh, my babies. Noah went rigid. Lily started crying. Hi, Noah, Amanda said. Her voice was shaking. Hi, baby. It's Mama. Do you remember me? Noah pressed his face into Claire's shoulder. Didn't respond. Amanda looked at the social worker, a woman named Mrs. Peterson, who Adrian had met once before. Can I hold them? Let's start slow, Mrs. Peterson said. This is difficult for everyone. I'm their mother. And you'll have a chance to reconnect. But the children need to go at their own pace. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I know I messed up. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I'm better now. I'm clean. I'm working. I can take care of them. That's what this process is about, Mrs. Peterson said. Determining what's best for Noah and Lily. What's best is being with their mother. Adrian had stayed quiet until now, but that statement broke his silence. What's best is being with people who won't abandon them in a snowstorm. Amanda flinched. I was sick. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were high. And instead of asking for help, you left 2 children to die. Adrian, Mrs. Peterson warned, but Amanda was crying now. I know what I did. I think about it every day. Every single day, I wake up and remember that I almost killed my own children. But I'm different now. The program helped me. I can be a good mother. You had 4 years to be a good mother, Claire said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. 4 years with Noah, 10 months with Lily, and from what we've learned, you were using most of that time. So forgive us if we don't believe 90 days in rehab fixed everything. I completed the program. I'm in transitional housing. I have a sponsor. I'm doing everything they told me to do. Until it gets hard, Claire said. Until something triggers you. Until the cravings get too bad. And then what? You use again and those children suffer again? That won't happen. That's what every addict says. The social worker stood. I think we need to take a break. But Noah chose that moment to speak. His voice was small but clear. I don't want to go back. Amanda's face crumpled. Noah, honey, I don't want to go back, Noah repeated, louder now. You left us. You said you'd come back and you didn't. You left us and Lily almost died and I was so scared and you weren't there. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it. Noah was crying now too. Sorry doesn't make me not scared anymore. Sorry doesn't make me forget being cold and thinking we were going to die. Please, baby, I'm your mother. I love you. If you loved us, you wouldn't have left us. The simple logic of a 5-year-old, devastating in its clarity. Amanda reached for him across the table. Noah recoiled, burying himself in Claire's arms. Lily was wailing now, reaching for Adrian, wanting nothing to do with the crying stranger. I think that's enough for today, Mrs. Peterson said firmly. They left Amanda sobbing at the table. In the hallway, Noah threw up from stress. Claire held his hair back while Adrian tried to comfort Lily, who was inconsolable. That went well, Elena said dryly. She'd been observing from behind the mirror. The judge is going to hear about all of that. Good, Adrian said. Let her hear it. Let her hear exactly how traumatized these children are at the thought of going back. But Elena's expression was troubled. It could go either way. Either the judge sees the harm in reunification, or she sees a mother who's genuinely remorseful and children who've been alienated from her. We didn't alienate them. Their mother did that herself. That's what we'll argue. But be prepared for the possibility that the court doesn't see it that way. The hearing was scheduled for the following Monday, 5 days away. Adrian spent those days preparing, reviewing testimony, making sure every detail was perfect. Claire spent them with the children, making memories, taking photos, acting like someone preparing for the end of the world. On Sunday night, Adrian found her in Lily's nursery, just watching the baby sleep. Hey, he said softly. Claire didn't turn around. She finally learned to say Dada yesterday. Did you hear her? I heard. She meant you. When she says it, she looks for you. I know. They're ours, Adrian. In every way that matters, these children are ours. I know that too. Claire finally turned to face him. Her eyes were red. What if we lose? Then we appeal. We keep fighting. And if that doesn't work? Adrian didn't have an answer for that. Because the truth was, if the court ordered reunification, there was only so much he could do. Money and lawyers could only push the system so far. We'll figure it out, he said finally. Together. Claire crossed the room, stood close to him, closer than she'd ever stood before. I can't do this again. I can't lose another family. You won't. We won't. You don't know that. No. But I believe it. She looked up at him. Something in her expression shifted, and before Adrian could process what was happening, Claire was kissing him. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and fierce and tasted like tears. Adrian froze for a second, then kissed her back, his hands coming up to cup her face. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Claire stepped back. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shouldn't have. That was inappropriate." "Claire, you're my employer." "Sort of. And we're in the middle of a custody battle, and this just makes everything more complicated." "I don't care about complicated." She laughed. It sounded broken. "Of course you don't. You're a billionaire. You think money can fix complicated." "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" Adrian reached for her hand. She let him take it. "I meant that somewhere in the last 4 months, you stopped being just the woman who helped me save 2 children. You became," he struggled for the right word, "essential to them, to this family, to me." "Adrian, I'm not asking you to define this right now. I'm just asking you not to run." Claire squeezed his hand. "I don't run. I learned a long time ago that running doesn't help. But after tomorrow we deal with whatever comes. Together." "Together," Claire repeated, like she was testing the word, seeing if it fit. They stood like that for a long moment, holding hands in the nursery, listening to Lily's soft breathing, building something fragile and new in the space between them. The courtroom was smaller than Adrian expected. Wood paneling, a judge's bench, rows of chairs for observers. Elena sat at their table, files organized in perfect stacks. Across the aisle, Amanda Hayes sat with her public defender, looking terrified. Judge Marianne Caldwell was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked like someone's grandmother, someone who baked cookies and knitted sweaters, but her eyes were sharp when she looked up from the files. "This is a reunification hearing for Noah Hayes, age 5, and Lily Hayes, age 10 months. Ms. Rodriguez, you're representing Mr. Cole." "Yes, Your Honor." "And Mr. Bennett, you're representing Ms. Hayes?" Amanda's attorney stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "Let's begin." The next 4 hours were brutal. Amanda's lawyer presented evidence of her rehabilitation, completion certificates from the program, clean drug tests, statements from her sponsor and her therapist, letters from her employer praising her reliability. Then Elena stood and systematically demolished it all. "Your Honor, Ms. Hayes completed a 90-day program. That's commendable. But the average relapse rate for opioid addiction is 60 to 90% within the first year. She's been clean for 4 months. That's not stability. That's a good start." "Objection," Amanda's lawyer said. "Statistics aren't predictive of individual outcomes." "Overruled," Judge Caldwell said. "Continue, Ms. Rodriguez." Elena pulled out medical records. When Lily Hayes was admitted to Children's Memorial Hospital on December 14th, she was suffering from severe hypothermia, malnutrition, and an untreated diaper rash so severe it had become infected. She weighed 3 pounds less than she should have at her age. The attending physician's notes indicate she was hours away from death. She showed photos. Adrian had seen them before, but they still made him sick. Lily's tiny body covered in monitors. The rash, the way her ribs showed through her skin. Judge Caldwell's expression didn't change, but her jaw tightened. Noah Hayes was found suffering from mild hypothermia and frostbite. He reported he hadn't eaten in 2 days. He was protecting his infant sister in below freezing temperatures because his mother had abandoned them. Elena paused. "These aren't statistics, Your Honor. This is what happened to these specific children under Ms. Hayes' care." "Ms. Hayes has acknowledged her mistakes," Amanda's lawyer argued. "She's taking responsibility." Taking responsibility would have been calling 911 when she realized she couldn't care for her children. Taking responsibility would have been surrendering them to CPS. What Ms. Hayes did was leave them to die. "Your Honor, that's inflammatory." "It's accurate," Elena interrupted. "If Mr. Cole hadn't found these children, they would have died. The medical experts agree on that." Judge Caldwell held up a hand. "I've read the medical reports. Let's move to current placement. Mr. Cole, can you explain your relationship with the children?" Adrian stood. He'd prepared for this. Rehearsed it with Elena a dozen times. But standing there under the judge's scrutiny, his prepared speech evaporated. "I found them in a snowstorm," he said. "I didn't know them, didn't know their mother, but I couldn't leave them there, so I brought them home. And somewhere in the process of making sure they survived, they became my family." "You're a single father with a biological daughter who lives in another state, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "You work full-time running a major corporation?" "I did. I've restructured my schedule to be more present. And Ms. Bennett? Judge Caldwell looked at Claire. What's your role in this household? Claire stood. I help care for Noah and Lily. Are you employed by Mr. Cole? No. Then why are you there? Claire glanced at Adrian, back at the judge. Because I found the children the same night he did, and I couldn't walk away either. Are you and Mr. Cole in a relationship? The question hung in the air. Adrian saw Elena tense. This was dangerous territory. If they said yes, it could look like instability. If they said no, it looked like Claire was just a roommate with no legal standing. We're building something, Claire said carefully. I don't know what to call it yet, but I know these children need us, both of us. Judge Caldwell made a note. Ms. Hayes, do you want to say anything? Amanda stood. She was crying. I love my children. I know I failed them. I know what I did was wrong, but I'm better now, please. Please give me a chance to be the mother they deserve. The judge looked at her for a long moment, then at Adrian and Claire, then down at the files on her bench. I'm going to take a short recess to review the evidence. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes lasted forever. Adrian paced the hallway. Claire sat on a bench, head in her hands. Elena made phone calls, her expression unreadable. Noah and Lily were with a social worker in a playroom down the hall, protected from the proceedings. Adrian wanted to check on them, but Elena had advised against it. Better to let them play. Better they didn't see how terrified the adults were. When they reconvened, Judge Caldwell looked tired. I've reviewed all the evidence. This is one of the more difficult cases I've presided over. She paused. Ms. Hayes, I commend you for completing your program and for the work you've done toward recovery. But I cannot ignore the severity of what happened to your children. I also cannot ignore the significant progress they've made in Mr. Cole's care. Adrian's heart was pounding so hard he could hear it. However, Judge Caldwell continued, the law prioritizes family reunification when possible, and I do believe in giving parents a chance to make things right. No. Adrian felt the word like a punch. Therefore, I'm ordering a stepped reunification plan. Ms. Hayes will have supervised visits twice a week for the next 3 months. At the end of that period, we'll reassess. If she maintains sobriety and demonstrates the ability to provide stable care, we'll move to unsupervised visits. After 6 months, if everything remains stable, we'll discuss custody arrangements. Relief flooded through Adrian, not what he wanted, but not the worst outcome either. Additionally, the judge said, Mr. Cole will retain temporary custody during this period. The children will remain in his home, with Ms. Bennett's continued assistance, until such time as reunification is appropriate or deemed impossible. 6 months. They had 6 months to prove Amanda couldn't do this, or 6 months to watch her succeed and prepare to give up the children. Either way, the fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The first supervised visit happened 3 days after the hearing. Amanda arrived at the CPS office 20 minutes early, looking nervous in clothes that were clearly borrowed. Adrian and Claire brought Noah and Lily exactly on time, the children clinging to them like lifelines. Noah hadn't spoken since they'd told him about the judge's decision. He'd just nodded, face blank, and retreated into himself in that way he had when things got too big to process. I don't want to do this, Noah said as they walked into the building. I know, Claire said, but it's only an hour. We'll be right outside the door. What if she tries to take us? She can't. The social worker will be there the whole time, and we're not leaving the building. It didn't help. Noah's hand was sweaty in Claire's, his breathing too fast. Lily sensed his distress and started whimpering. Mrs. Peterson met them in the hallway. Amanda's already in the room. Are we ready? No, Noah said flatly. I know this is hard, sweetheart, but your mom is really looking forward to seeing you. I don't care what she wants. The words were harsh, coming from a 5-year-old's mouth. Mrs. Peterson exchanged a look with Adrian. This was going to be difficult. The visit lasted exactly 43 minutes before Noah had a complete meltdown. Amanda had tried too hard, pushed too fast, wanting to hug him when he'd made it clear he needed space. When she'd reached for Lily, Noah had screamed and kicked over a chair. We're done, Mrs. Peterson said firmly. Let's try again next week. In the car afterward, Noah was silent. Not the peaceful kind. The dangerous kind. Adrian kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, watching the boy's face for signs of what was coming. It came that night. Noah destroyed his room, methodically, calmly, pulled books off shelves, threw toys, ripped his drawings off the walls. When Adrian and Claire tried to stop him, he fought them with a strength born of pure rage. "I hate this," Noah screamed. "I hate her, and I hate the stupid judge, and I hate that nobody listens to me." "We're listening," Adrian said, trying to hold the boy without restraining him. "We hear you." "Then make it stop. Tell them I don't want to see her. Tell them to leave us alone." "I can't. You're rich. You can do anything. You told me you'd keep us together, and you're not. You're giving us back to her." "That's not what's happening." "Yes, it is." Noah collapsed then, sobbing so hard he could barely breathe. "Everyone always lies. Everyone always leaves." Claire gathered him up, rocking him like she used to when this first started. Adrian sat on the floor surrounded by broken toys and torn paper, feeling completely helpless. Later, after Noah finally cried himself to sleep, Adrian and Claire sat in the living room. Lily was in her playpen, babbling to herself, unaware of the chaos around her. "This is killing him," Claire said. "I know. 6 months of this, twice a week. Watching him fall apart over and over." She shook her head. "There has to be another way." "Elena says we document everything, every meltdown, every regression, build a case that the visits are harmful." "And if that doesn't work?" Adrian didn't answer because he didn't have one. The weeks crawled by. Twice a week, they made the drive to CPS. Twice a week, Noah endured an hour with the mother who'd abandoned him. And twice a week, he came home a little more broken than before. Amanda, to her credit, kept showing up. She attended every visit, passed every drug test, followed every rule. Her sponsor told the court she was working the program. Her therapist reported steady progress. On paper, she was doing everything right. But Noah wasn't the only one watching closely. Adrian had hired a private investigator, not something he was proud of, but desperation made people do questionable things. The investigator, a former cop named Martinez, provided weekly reports. "She's still clean," Martinez said during one of their meetings. "Attends her NA meetings, goes to work, stays at the transitional house, but what? She's struggling, you can see it. The stress is getting to her. She's isolated. No support system outside the program. No friends, no family, just the meetings and work and those visits where her kid refuses to talk to her." "You think she'll relapse?" Martinez shrugged. "Most addicts do, especially under pressure. But I can't predict when or if. I can just tell you what I'm seeing." What he was seeing gave Adrian hope. Terrible, guilty hope that this woman would fail so he could keep the children he'd grown to love. It made him feel like a monster. "You're not a monster," Claire said when he confessed this late one night. They'd started spending evenings together after the children went to sleep, talking about everything and nothing, building something neither of them wanted to name yet. "I'm hoping a woman relapses so I can adopt her children. That's pretty monstrous." "You're hoping traumatized children don't have to go back to someone who hurt them. That's protective, not monstrous." The line feels pretty thin. Claire was quiet for a moment. "When I was 15, I had a caseworker who told me my mother was getting clean, that she was working the program and wanted me back. I was terrified because I'd been through it before, 3 times before. But I also hoped," her voice cracked, "I hoped maybe this time would be different. Maybe this time she actually loved me enough to stay clean." "What happened?" "She picked me up from the foster home. We went to her new apartment. It was small but clean. She'd gotten a job at a grocery store. For 2 weeks, everything was perfect." Claire's hands clenched in her lap. "Then I came home from school and found her passed out on the couch, with a needle still in her arm. They took me away that night. I never saw her again." Adrian reached for her hand. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm just saying I understand hoping she fails. Because the alternative, watching Noah and Lily go through what I went through, is worse than the guilt." 3 months into the supervised visits, something shifted. Amanda stopped trying so hard. Stopped pushing for hugs Noah didn't want to give, started just sitting with the children, talking to them like people instead of possessions she was trying to reclaim. Noah noticed, started responding in one-word answers instead of silence, started letting her hold Lily while he played with toys nearby instead of keeping his sister away from her completely. "She's getting better at this," Mrs. Peterson observed after one visit. "The attachment is building." Adrian felt sick. That night, Elena called. The court is pleased with Amanda's progress. They're moving to unsupervised visits starting next month. Already? She's met every benchmark, stayed clean for 6 months, completed the program, maintained steady employment. The court has no reason to delay. What about Noah's trauma? The psychological reports? They acknowledge it, but they also note that he's starting to engage with his mother. That's seen as progress toward reunification, not an argument against it. After the call, Adrian sat in his office, staring at nothing. 6 months ago, he'd been a man walking home through a snowstorm, alone and empty. Now he had a family, a real family, and the system was systematically dismantling it. Claire found him there an hour later. "You okay?" "No." She sat down across from him. "Talk to me." "I thought having money meant I could fix things, control outcomes. But all the money in the world doesn't matter when a judge has already made up her mind. The judge hasn't decided anything yet." "Yes, she has. She's decided Amanda deserves another chance. That biology matters more than attachment. That 4 months of sobriety erases leaving your children to die." "Adrian, I'm losing them, Claire, and there's nothing I can do about it." Claire moved around the desk, pulled his face up to look at her. "Then we make the time we have count. We love them as hard as we can for as long as we can. And if the worst happens, at least they'll know what real love feels like." "How is that enough?" "It has to be." The first unsupervised visit was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon. Amanda would pick up the children at noon, have them until 5, and return them to the penthouse. 5 hours. Longer than they'd ever spent alone with her. Noah threw up twice that morning from anxiety. Lily cried every time Claire tried to put her shoes on, like she knew something bad was coming. "I don't want to go," Noah said for the 100th time. "I know, buddy," Adrian said, "but it's just for a few hours. Then you'll come home." "What if we don't? What if she takes us and doesn't bring us back?" "She can't do that. There are rules." "She broke the rules before." Adrian didn't have an answer for that. When Amanda arrived, she looked nervous. "Hi guys, ready to go?" Noah shook his head. Lily buried her face in Claire's shoulder. "We'll have fun," Amanda said, trying to sound cheerful. "I thought we could go to the park, maybe get ice cream." "I don't like parks." "Oh, okay. Well, we can do something else. What do you like to do?" Noah just stared at her. The handoff was painful. Noah cried. Lily screamed. Claire looked like she might physically prevent them from leaving. But eventually, Amanda got both children into her car and drove away. Adrian and Claire stood in the driveway, watching until the car disappeared. "I can't do this," Claire said. Her voice was shaking. "I can't keep giving them away and hoping they come back. It's only 5 hours. Today it's 5 hours. Next month it's overnight visits. The month after that it's weekends. And then one day we hand them over and they never come back." Adrian pulled her against him. She didn't resist, just let herself lean into him, shaking with the effort of not falling apart. The 5 hours lasted forever. Adrian tried to work, couldn't focus. Claire tried to clean, gave up after 10 minutes. They ended up sitting on the couch, watching the clock, waiting. At 4:30, Adrian's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered immediately. "Mr. Cole?" A woman's voice. "Nope, not Amanda." "This is Sarah Brennan from Roosevelt Hospital. I'm calling about Amanda Hayes and 2 children in her care." Adrian's blood went cold. "What happened?" "Ms. Hayes was in a car accident. Minor injuries, but the children are shaken up. We need a guardian to come pick them up." "I'm on my way." They made it to the hospital in 12 minutes. Found Noah and Lily in a pediatric exam room, both crying, a nurse trying to comfort them. The moment they saw Adrian and Claire, both children launched themselves at them. "You're okay," Claire was saying over and over. "You're okay, we've got you." "Where's Amanda?" Adrian asked the nurse. "Exam room 3, the police are with her now." Adrian found Amanda sitting on a gurney, her face in her hands. A police officer was taking notes. When Amanda looked up, her eyes were red but clear, not high, not impaired. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "It wasn't my fault. The other driver ran a red light. But I know how this looks." The officer confirmed her story. The accident report showed the other driver at fault. Amanda had passed a field sobriety test. She hadn't done anything wrong. But it didn't matter, because when Adrian went back to the exam room, Noah looked at him with huge, terrified eyes and said, I want to go home. Please, I just want to go home. That night, after the children were finally asleep, Amanda called. I'm giving up, she said. No preamble, just the statement. What? I'm terminating my parental rights. I talked to my lawyer. We're filing the paperwork tomorrow. Adrian's heart started racing. Amanda, don't. Don't try to talk me out of it. I've been thinking about this for weeks, maybe longer. She took a shaky breath. I love my kids. I do. But loving them isn't enough. I see how they are with you and Claire, how safe they feel, how happy. And then I see how they are with me, scared, anxious, waiting for me to fail. You haven't failed, you've stayed clean for 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. That's nothing. I've been an addict for 8 years. Statistically, I'm going to relapse. Maybe not today. Maybe not next month. But eventually, her voice broke. And when I do, I don't want my children there to see it. I don't want them hurt again because I couldn't stay strong. Amanda, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm telling you what I've decided. You and Claire can give them something I never could. Stability, safety, a real home, so I'm stepping aside. What about visitation? You could still see them. No, clean break. It's better that way, for them and for me. She was crying now. Tell them I loved them, that I'm sorry, that I hope someday they understand. Tell them yourself. I can't. If I see them again, I'll change my mind, and I can't do that to them. The line went dead. Adrian stood there holding his phone, trying to process what had just happened. 6 months of fighting, 6 months of anxiety and legal battles and watching Noah fall apart. And it was over. Just like that. Who was that? Claire appeared in the doorway. Amanda, she's terminating her parental rights. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. What? She said she's stepping aside, letting us adopt them. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Claire started laughing, or crying, or both. Adrian pulled her close, and they stood there in the hallway, holding each other, trying to believe this was real. The legal process took another 3 months. Paperwork, court appearances, home studies, character witnesses. But this time, there was no one fighting against them. Amanda signed away her rights. The state approved the adoption. On a sunny October afternoon, almost a year after that December night in the snowstorm, Adrian and Claire stood in a courtroom with Noah and Lily. Judge Caldwell looked different today, warmer. She smiled down at the children. Noah, do you understand what's happening today? Noah nodded seriously. Adrian and Claire are adopting us. We get to stay forever. That's right. How do you feel about that? Good. Really good. And you'll be a family. Officially, Noah looked at Adrian, at Claire, at Lily on Claire's hip. We were already a family. This just makes it legal. The judge's smile widened. Well said. She signed the final document with a flourish. Congratulations. By the power invested in me by the state of Illinois, I hereby approve this adoption. Noah and Lily are now legally your children. The courtroom erupted in applause. Elena was crying. Reynolds was grinning. Even the court reporter was smiling. Adrian pulled Noah into a hug. His son. Officially, legally, forever. Claire was crying, kissing Lily's head over and over. We're a family. We're really a family. Outside the courthouse, Sophia was waiting with Jennifer. Adrian had called his ex-wife a week ago, told her everything, asked if Sophia could be there for the adoption. Of course, Jennifer had said. She's been talking about her brother and sister nonstop. Now Sophia ran to them, hugging Noah. We're official siblings now. Noah hugged her back. Yeah, we are. Jennifer approached Adrian. Congratulations, really. What you've done for these children, it's remarkable. I'm just doing what needed to be done. No, you're doing what most people wouldn't. You saw a need and you filled it. She paused. I was wrong. About you not being present enough. You've proven you can be there when it matters. It was the closest thing to an apology he'd get from her. Adrian accepted it with a nod. That evening, back at the penthouse, they ordered pizza and watched movies. Sophia was spending the weekend, her choice. The 5 of them crowded onto the couch, Noah falling asleep against Adrian's side, Lily in Claire's lap, Sophia wedged between them. This is nice, Sophia said. Yeah, Adrian agreed. It really is. Later, after Sophia had gone to bed and the little ones were asleep, Adrian found Claire on the balcony, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Big day, he said, joining her. Biggest day. She turned to look at him. Can I ask you something? Anything. That night in the park, when you found us. If you'd known everything that was going to happen, the legal battles, the stress, Amanda, all of it, would you still have stopped? Adrian didn't even have to think about it. Yes, without question. Why? Because some things are worth fighting for. Some people are worth the struggle. He took her hand. You taught me that. I didn't teach you anything. You already knew it. You'd just forgotten. Maybe. But you reminded me what family really means. Not biology, not legal documents, just showing up, being present, choosing to stay when leaving would be easier. Claire squeezed his hand. We make a pretty good team. Yeah, we do. Adrian paused. I know we've been avoiding talking about what this is between us, but I think it's time we acknowledge it. Acknowledge what? That I'm in love with you, that I have been for months, that you're not just my co-parent or my roommate or my friend. You're the person I want to wake up next to, the person I want to build this life with. Claire was quiet for a long moment. Then, I was in foster care for 9 years. I learned not to hope for permanence, not to trust that good things would last. And then you walked into that park and turned my entire life upside down. Is that a yes? She laughed. That's an I'm terrified, but I love you too, and I want this even though it scares me. Adrian pulled her close, kissed her properly this time. Not desperate like before, just real, solid. The kind of kiss that promised tomorrow and next week and next year. When they broke apart, Claire was smiling. So what now? Now we figure it out as we go. Together. Together? Claire repeated. I'm still getting used to that word. You've got time. We've got time. The next year passed in a blur of firsts. Noah's first day of kindergarten. Lily's first birthday as officially their daughter. Sophia's summer visit where she stayed for 6 weeks instead of 2. Claire officially moving into the master bedroom instead of the guest room she'd been using. Adrian restructured his role at Techstone, promoting his COO to handle day-to-day operations while he focused on strategy. It meant less money but more time. Time for school pickups and bedtime stories and family dinners that actually happened at a reasonable hour. The board wasn't happy. Charles Brennan made his displeasure known at every meeting. Your grandfather built this company with 12-hour days and complete dedication, Charles said at one particularly contentious board meeting. And he died alone, Adrian replied. I'm building something different. 2 board members resigned in protest. Adrian replaced them with people who understood that success wasn't just measured in quarterly profits. Revenue still grew. The company still thrived. Turned out you could have both if you were willing to challenge the assumption that you had to choose. Noah's nightmares eventually stopped. Not all at once, but gradually, over months, they faded. He still had hard days, still had moments where the trauma surfaced, but Dr. Chen helped him develop tools to manage it. On one of their sessions, she pulled Adrian aside. He's going to be okay. He has something most traumatized children don't. What's that? A family that actually sees him, that validates his pain instead of trying to fix it, that stays even when it's hard. She smiled. You're giving him the foundation he needs to heal. The rest is just time. Lily grew into a toddler with Claire's stubbornness and Adrian's determination. She walked at 13 months, talked in full sentences by 18 months, and developed a talent for getting into everything. She's going to be trouble, Claire said, watching Lily figure out how to climb onto the kitchen counter. She's going to be amazing, Adrian corrected. On a December afternoon, exactly 2 years after that night in the snowstorm, Adrian took the family back to Millennium Park. It was snowing again, not the violent storm from before, just gentle flakes drifting down. They walked to the bench where Claire had found Noah and Lily. Someone had left flowers there, anonymous. But Adrian knew, people remembered. The story had made the news. 2 abandoned children, a billionaire, a struggling waitress, and an ending that somehow worked out. Why are we here? Noah asked. He was 7 now, taller, healthier, but still carrying the weight of memory. Because this is where our family started, Adrian said. I wanted you to see it's just a bench, just a place. It doesn't have power over you anymore. Noah looked at the bench, at the park, at the space where the worst night of his life had happened. Then he picked up Lily, who at 2 was getting too big to carry but still loved it, and walked over to the bench, sat down, looked up at Adrian and Claire. It's just a bench, Noah agreed. The scary part was the being alone, but we're not alone anymore. No, Claire said, sitting beside him. We're not. Adrian joined them, and they sat there together as snow fell around them. A family forged not by blood or circumstance, but by choice, by showing up, by refusing to walk away even when it would have been easier. Can we go home now? Lily asked. I'm cold. They laughed. Home. The word meant something different now than it had 2 years ago. It wasn't the penthouse or the address or the expensive furniture. It was the people, the messy, complicated, beautiful people who'd chosen each other. On Christmas morning, the penthouse was chaos. Sophia had flown in for the holidays. Noah and Lily were tearing through presents. Claire was in the kitchen attempting to cook a turkey despite having never done it before. Adrian was documenting everything on his phone, taking too many pictures, not caring. This is insane, Sophia said, laughing as Lily launched herself into a pile of wrapping paper. Yeah, Adrian agreed. It really is. But it was the good kind of insane, the kind that came from being full instead of empty, from having people to care about instead of just things to manage. Later that evening, after the children were in bed and Sophia was on the phone with friends back in California, Adrian found Claire attempting to salvage the burnt turkey. I think we're ordering pizza, Claire said, surveying the damage. I think you're right. She looked at him. You okay? Better than okay. I was just thinking about where I was 2 years ago, walking home alone, empty, thinking my life was over. And now? Now I can't imagine being anywhere else, with anyone else, doing anything else. He pulled her close. You saved me, that night in the park. You saved all of us. I didn't save anyone. I just refused to leave. Sometimes that's the same thing. They ordered pizza, ate it with the family in the living room surrounded by torn wrapping paper and half-assembled toys. Sophia told stories about her school. Noah demonstrated his new ability to read. Lily fell asleep in Claire's lap, sticky with chocolate and completely content. And Adrian realized something fundamental about love. It wasn't the grand gestures or the perfect moments or the fairy tale endings. It was this, the ordinary chaos of family. The choice to stay when things got hard. The decision to build something together even when you didn't know if it would work. He'd spent years thinking success was measured in profit margins and stock prices. But sitting there in his living room watching his family, Adrian understood that real wealth was measured in moments like this. In the people who chose to show up, in the family you built from broken pieces and second chances. 3 months later, Adrian asked Claire to marry him. Nothing fancy. Just the two of them and a question he'd been carrying for weeks. I know we're already a family, he said. I know we don't need a piece of paper to make it official, but I want to marry you anyway. Not because we have to, because I want to, because I want to stand in front of everyone and promise that I choose you every day for the rest of my life. Claire cried. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. It's the only proposal you've ever heard. Still the worst. She kissed him. Yes, obviously yes. They got married that summer. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Noah was the ring bearer. Lily was the flower girl and threw petals at everyone instead of dropping them on the ground. Sophia stood with Claire, officially welcoming her as a stepmom. At the reception, Noah tugged on Adrian's sleeve. Can I call you Dad now? Like, officially? Adrian crouched down. You've been calling me Dad for a year. Yeah, but that was before. Now that you married Claire and we're all official, I wanted to make sure it was okay. It's more than okay, it's perfect. Noah threw his arms around Adrian's neck. Thanks, Dad. 2 simple words, but they meant everything. The years that followed weren't perfect. They had fights and setbacks and moments where the trauma resurfaced. Noah struggled in school sometimes. Lily had her own challenges. Sophia navigated the complexity of having 2 families. Claire and Adrian learned to parent together, making mistakes and figuring it out as they went. But they showed up, every day, for every hard moment, for every triumph and every failure. And slowly, The family that had been forged in a snowstorm became something permanent, something real, something worth fighting for. Because that's what Adrian had learned that December night 2 years ago, that love isn't about perfect circumstances or ideal conditions. It's about seeing someone who needs help and choosing not to walk away. It's about building something from nothing. It's about showing up even when it's hard. It's about being present for the people who need you most. And in the end, that presence, that choice to stay, was worth more than all the money in the world. Standing in his living room years later, watching Noah help Lily with her homework while Claire made dinner and Sophia video called from college, Adrian finally understood what his grandfather had missed. Success wasn't the empire you built. It was the people you built it for, the family you chose, the moments you showed up. That December night in the snowstorm, Adrian had been walking home alone, thinking he had everything. He'd been wrong. He'd had nothing. But now, surrounded by the noise and chaos and beautiful mess of family, he had everything that actually mattered, and he would never take it for granted again.